Hello! If you're hearing my voice, you are on LSD, not the mind altering substance, but the YouTube network run by two shabby bastards. Me, your host, Andrew Rodriguez, and the Pinoy Boy Toy. To my left, I don't know where he is on your screen, but my partner, Mike Novoloza. We have with us tonight Mike's good buddy, Matt Brown, shooting the shit with us about the weirdness in the world this
That's
evening.
right.
Hello,
Yeah, that's
everybody.
good. Thanks for having me, guys. This is gonna be fun.
Thanks for coming along.
Yeah, yeah. I love these kind of topics. It's fun.
But we don't even like plan our topics, but what we were talking about just now is a pretty solid one. It's getting creepy out there. It's getting to be I don't know what to call it. It's getting like I'm starting to believe sim theory. I'm starting to believe it's all fucking fake. That the Fibonacci sequence is a program we're living in.
It
Like
could be.
I, it's so cartoonish and outlandish at this point where it's like now it's like there's a kid fucker ring that's out there and the other thing too is all these important subjects, very very important subjects. They get like a week. They get like 5 days news airtime, and then it's on to the next, on to the next. So it's just
Yeah.
like murder hornets, COVID, the death of George Floyd, the riots to follow, all the protests and the demands of BLM and all these other groups and organizations, and then that time it's almost like blown over at this point. It feels like now we're on the next thing. Wayfair is fucking shipping stolen kids. Now that's what's now, and then next week it's gonna be like fucking undersea
Whatever,
zombies or some
whatever
shit.
George Soros can come up with.
That seems to be the guy, the bad guy. You know the
I
funny
Yeah.
thing
guess.
is, do you
Do
know
you
the
guys know any 90-year-olds though? I don't know any that have their fucking shit
yeah,
together.
I mean, my
No,
my grandma
I
will
mean,
kick your ass. Not because like
Listen, my grandma's 86. She's awesome. She can have a hell of a conversation with you. She's spicy. I just don't see her running the fucking
my
organizations
dude,
that are gonna take down the world. She's not like the
is that how old
supervillain.
he is? Wait, is that
He's
how
like in
old
his
George Soros
90s, I
is?
yeah,
believe.
man.
Yeah,
He's
Dude,
really that old? I had no idea.
I believe
adrenochrome's real.
so.
And it's not even like it's him, it's just like
Well,
the
yeah,
machine that he built is still running.
yeah. I
Is
think
it is it a
he's just
is
giving the money to I think the Clintons at this point and the
but is it a
Warrens and
machine that he built, or is it a machine that goes back to like Hearst in like the 30s or even prior to
Even
that,
before that, like
where
he's
you've
just like
got
he was just the last head of the last
or is it
living
even
head.
is it even a head, or is it just one of those things where like that's how business was done, man?
Yeah.
Like Walt Disney was supposedly a horrific
it could have
tyrant to
been.
work
Yeah,
for. You know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah.
like shit's a little different. Like in the old days, you know what I mean? Like my grandfather, I'm pretty sure he might have wrapped my grandmother across the fucking chops a couple of times
Yeah, you
during
were
their
saying.
fucking marriage. I, I, I know my dad did that shit. You know what I mean? I would never do it to my wife. I think it's just like generationally we change. So I think we give a little too much credit to the boogeyman and
Nah.
not enough credit to like how fucking dumb the people, like the masses, are.
No,
Like,
I think it's a
have you ever
combination
listened to
of
that guy
both.
Fleckus Talks?
Yeah, I love
Well,
but I
Fleckus
mean,
Talks.
definitely, I think there's a bit of both. I just think we give too much credit to this like big organized, orchestrated boogeyman. I think there are organized,
Yeah,
orchestrated things, and then those are just aided by the stupidity of fucking humanity,
yeah, like all the
I mean, I
things.
think that's
and we deserve it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I think that was a good point about the generations, though. I mean, Robert Kraft is like I think his 70s and 80s, and I mean, all these guys. I mean,
yeah,
at the end of the day, Soros is just going to be another Epstein scenario when it's all said and
Right,
done.
another
yeah.
creep, another
Yeah,
billionaire creep.
Like,
Now, is
yeah.
that something that just happens? Like, do you get like over 50 million and just turn weird because you could do whatever the fuck you want? Like,
oh,
do you just get like, I'm just gonna run over somebody today because I fucking can do that.
yo,
Like, I can afford what it's gonna cost me. My
Maybe.
insurance spike.
dude, you grew up out on the island, Matt.
Yeah,
Not because your family is like a George Soros type family, because your dad was just
that's all right.
smart, right? I remember
Right.
you
Yeah,
telling me
he
that,
bought
like,
property at 18.
yeah, his dad bought
Yeah,
property there when it was cheap, and then it
on
ended
Singer
up being
Island.
Palm
Yeah,
Beach, yeah, Singer Island, Palm Beach Island, all that place, man. Like,
yeah,
that's just dope, you know? Like,
yeah.
that's smart. But I can tell you, growing up in my family and hanging out with the people that I hung out with when I was young, yeah, they just get bored. Like, I, my wife was watching some Kardashians thing, right? And they were doing like they were showing like home movies, like when the oldest daughter was like 13 or whatever, and it was like some integrated slumber party, and they were like literally torturing some poor kid because they were bored, and it's like that's a symptom of like having too much money, and like your kids are bored with that your family has so much money, your kids are bored with regular stuff.
Wasn't there a kid who like wrecked his car and killed some people, and they said he had to like get a leaner sentence because he had affluenza?
Yeah.
So affluent.
I'm sure that happens every day.
Dude, his whole sense of like right and wrong is
let me tell you,
stunted.
Dude, my uncle, right, 16 years old, drove home drunk, hit every car parked on the street, right?
Wow.
And the cops are chasing him. It's a slow speed chase. Everybody in my family tells me this story all the time about my uncle, right? And so my family goes out in front because it's a big thing. Like helicopters, like in the 60s, the helicopters like chasing during a police chase is a big deal, right? So he's just boom, 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 hitting every car, right? And then he pulls into the driveway of the house next door to my grandparents' house, where there's a car parked in the driveway, pushes that car into the garage where there's another car parked in the garage, and then gets out and just opens up the door of the cop car and gets in, then just sits there. Next day he was out, no charges. So that's what it's like.
That seems to be the thing today.
That's what it's like growing up with that type of like mindset and power. So then eventually, and also he did another thing where he wrecked like $20 million worth of art in an art gallery when he was like 21. Zero charges, didn't have to pay anything. Anyway, like it's some like that's what I'm saying. Like it's these people, and then now imagine they're in their 30s. They've literally done anything that they could think of. What else is there but this crazy stuff, man? It's like it's literally the late term stages of affluenza, you know? Like you start having to do like sick and depraved shit.
Well, it goes back to old stories like The Most Dangerous Game where they hunt man and shit like that. Like rich dude's got an island and gonna hunt a fucking dude. That's an old intriguing story because it's a real fucking.
There's a real thing. I'm break something here. There's a real thing where people hunt people, and it's actually the hunters, the legal hunters. What happens is they'll find like a freshly poached like elephant or something, and then immediately they'll call in all their friends that are like in the area on safaris, and they stop hunting for whatever animal they're hunting for and start hunting the people. The poachers, hunting poachers is actually why rich people go hunting. I don't know if you know that. They don't go hunting like, they're like, they're like, oh look, I caught this giraffe, or I shot this lion. But like the real game, they were really hoping to stumble across like just some.
I'm sure
like an elephant
for action.
Just missing the tusk. Sure. No, like literally, I've been told that by those people. They're like, we go out to hunt lions.
Guides are also rangers. So like a preserve guide in a lot of cases is also a ranger. So those cats who are taking them out on those hunts, if they find a freshly poached animal, a lot of the time they have to take action because they're responsible for that tract or whatever. So they'll make a move right there. Yeah, which a lot of these guys are hoping to get.
That's what I was told. They're like,
they should just go get a fucking job.
Are they doing it?
Fucking Blackwater and get out there and fucking do some running and gunning.
Are they doing it just to do it because they can, because they have the money?
Yeah.
Or is it something they genuinely like enjoy doing?
I don't know. I think it's like Andrew said, it gets to the point when you have enough money where you've literally done everything.
Do what the fuck you want.
Yeah, that you're like, the only thing I haven't done is hunt man. And then I feel like if you're a hunter and then all of a sudden you hunt a guy and you kill him for the first time for like poaching an animal, I don't think anything else can really like compare to that. Yeah, and I think that's why like, and that's the other thing too. If you go to these guys that have spent millions of dollars hunting in Africa, you're like, but you only have like one lion head or like one elephant head on your wall. You said you've gone like 20 times, and they're like, oh yeah, I got other trophies. And you're like,
ear necklaces and
right?
shit.
Like,
I wonder though,
Dude.
there's got to be a specific type of person, right? Because like, and maybe it's different.
I think
if
it's
you're
like you
icing
said.
somebody with a firearm.
I think it's like you said. Once you make a certain amount of money, like
Yeah.
Just don't give a shit.
that's
But
what else is there to do?
Like, I had a long combat sports career, so like, I was in some positions where it's like, oh, if there was not a ref here, or if this was like a life and death situation, I could just off this motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there was a couple of times, luckily not many, but there was a couple of times where it would have been me getting offed, right? But I didn't get like I don't know. I think you'd have to have a very specific personality to get excited in a certain way. Because there's times where it's like you're almost like, hey man, like help save this motherfucker.
Yeah.
So like I think you have to have that within you already in order to want to like just fucking off somebody. You know what I mean? Like just to want to, not to be able to be capable, but to fucking like, ooh, that seems fun. There's a dude, I forget his name. He has a Spanish name. He's like a billionaire. He does all these seminars and shit. He's like a little guy. He was on Rogan, and he was like talking about
everybody's been on Rogan.
And he was talking about like hunting this bear and stabbing the shit out of it. I'll look him up and figure out after the show. And
what's he do? Is he a business guy?
He's a bit, but now he holds all these seminars about like how the modern guy is like a pussy and shit like that. But he's like this crazy little guy. He's got a Spanish last name, fucking. But he almost is like a Joe Pesci, like a caricature. And what do you call he's a billionaire. And he talked about hunting a bear and stabbing it like 50 times and all this different shit. And it's like, that's the guy that we're talking about here. That's the guy who's like, not only gonna go hunt a bear, which I'm fine with, but fucking to go stab the shit out of it like 50, 60 at that, like
Galante?
whatever. It's like, no, not Forrest Galante. That guy's I think like.
Did you just look it up?
Yeah.
Animologist.
I was looking for
No, Pena. I think this guy's last name is Pena. Might be Pena, but anyway, this is
Dan
the kind
Pena?
of guy. This is the character. It might be Dan Pena. He's like an older man.
Yeah.
White hair.
Yep.
Very well dressed. He's a wild. He
really?
seems like a wild dude. But he talked about like, and I stabbed the shit out of this bear. And
I literally
was like, I never seen it.
I literally just clicked on that video, and then he's just going like this.
Yeah.
He's just going like this.
And to me, it's like, I've gone hunting. I've hunted hogs. I've hunted rabbits. I've not hunted anything else. But I've never felt like, oh, I need to take a picture of this and fucking post it on Facebook or some shit. I've taken a picture of my first couple of hogs and sent them to friends and shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's almost like weird to me. It's like I'm eating this. I don't go to the grocery store and go like, I found a really awesome London broil.
Well, I do. I do.
Now, I do take pictures of
come on, I do. Yeah.
That's different. But it's a weird thing to me. And also, it's like, if you've hunted before, it's like, it feels cool to hunt. It feels good. Like, it feels natural. And I don't want to share that with anybody else anyway. So I don't get the whole taking a picture trophy thing, but it's also like, when people know the history of those kind of situations, not most of the people out there, I don't think, are Dan Pena types who want to stab a giraffe 80 times with a spear. Most of those guys
most people don't want to do that.
I've hunted elk, I've hunted this, I've hunted that, I've hunted maybe axis deer.
Listen.
And then there's a giraffe that's killing other younger giraffes, like viable breeding giraffes. It's an old bull. That's most of the time the case.
The guys that are hunting poachers in Africa and India and China, they're not that hunter. Like they go on the hunts with people that hunt regularly, and then like they have the money to get the best gear to where it's easy, right?
Well, a lot of ex-military cats have those jobs as well, like Australian military, There's a lot of ex-military cats who have those
we need to find a an ex-Australian military guy that has been like banished from Australia, because there's a bunch of them out on the island.
Oh yeah.
And then have him tell us some shit, man. But
you could probably find any service guy from any like higher.
It's like specific for the island, specific to the island. Those guys, those guys, dude, they're like super nice. But like you just can't go knocking on the wrong door.
To not be nice.
Yeah, man. Same with we talked about this with the Albanian guys that run the security in Atlantis. Super nice. Hello, my friend. Like weird Eastern European accent. Yeah, but like so what I was saying with these guys that hunt poachers, like I call back to that story with like when my wife was watching that Kardashians flashback thing, they're already more bored with the world than you could ever be if you had their money starting now, right, in life. By the time they're a teenager, that by the time they're our age,
they've seen the world by then and shit like that.
Yeah, you have to. And I can like totally like I can connect with that because when I was younger, like those were the circles that, you know, like my family was like associated with. So like I would go to those dumb parties and like and see like the kids be bored with everything. But then, you know, I was a kid too, so I'm like, yeah, this stuff is boring. Like I understand we got to torture some poor fuck. You know, it was me sometimes too. So like I like that's actually what helped normalize me, I guess, because I feel like if I hadn't been fucked up by those kids, like, because also the other thing was I wasn't like as rich as them either, so like I got picked on for that, and then like it's all weird shit that like I have like this weird inside view because I've traveled all over the world with these same people too, and it's just really weird seeing them how they interact with other people as opposed to like like I didn't hit the limit of asshole money, you know. I've never hit the limit of asshole money, and they were just born somewhere around here, and like I don't know, like I can understand.
Excited now.
Yeah, well, like I was there when they would get excited by something new, but the thing that excited them was like something beautiful dying, which like I can connect with, like in my like super depressed, fucked up soul,
or like,
but I can't.
Terms,
yes, exactly.
Like,
yeah. But they're like they can't connect with it on that level. They have to connect with it on the physical level of doing it.
Sure.
Right.
I think that was kind of like liberating, maybe, of growing up broke. Like all this racial tension. Like I guess I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Partly because I come from a culture that like even
is
though
everything
there's Cubans of different types or whatever, like they're all Cuban. That's like first. But then beyond that, like I don't get the racial tension because everybody I grew up with was all different kind of people in South Florida, but also like all fucking broke. That was the unifying factor. Like everybody's broke, and if you grew up in a Spanish neighborhood, you definitely don't call the cops for shit. You handle shit on the block usually. You go talk to your neighbor if they're fucking loud or whatever, if their chickens are bothering you, whatever the fuck it is. Like you go talk right to them because where you come from, the cops are always crooked. So like this whole thing of like, oh, the cops are like fucking beating on people and shit. It's like, well, yeah, some cops are gonna beat on people, man.
They've always been doing that, though.
See,
exactly.
And they've
always been doing that, though.
Asians, the same thing. People who come from Asian countries or Slavic countries or Middle Eastern countries, fucking, they're like, and like cops are fucking
what's next?
Another gang on this.
I mean, they're doing it. They're doing it to whites, Asian, black, like they're doing it to everybody.
Everybody's getting hands on.
Here's
now,
the thing,
in certain
too.
Neighborhoods, you're gonna have it more too. It is what
it
is.
Of course.
I think poverty is more the defining factor, not race.
100%.
Yes. See, and you guys. See, look at this, and you guys both grew up in Palm Beach County too. Matt, you grew up on a nice island, and Andrew, you said you like grew up in Green Acres.
But I could go.
I grew up like between.
Yeah, but I could go over the bridge and experience the roughness.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you had Riviera right on the other side of the bridge, so.
Sure.
That's the thing. Like you guys.
My grandparents are in Hallandale Beach, which is like right on the cusp of Dade County. My pop was in Hialeah and then Miami Springs later on, and then my mom's house was in West Palm Beach or in like Palm Springs area. Right between Lake Worth and Green Acres. So it's like this weird little enclave, Palm Springs specifically, where it's like kind of a safe neighborhood in a pocket.
Yeah,
it's kind of wild.
That was the weirdest thing ever. Like,
it's because all the cops in that area were like all old school lieutenants.
No,
they didn't arrest people outside. They de-escalated a lot of shit.
No, all of Florida is like that. All of Florida.
Not all.
Dude, it's weird.
Where I grew up in Miami, like in Miami Lakes, Hialeah, cops are crooked as fuck.
No.
There's been times.
I mean,
the
pockets.
With a kid.
The pockets, like Atlantis, is in the middle of a shithole.
Sure, like Lantana and all that.
Like like those. Yeah. Like I literally went to a party where I saw somebody get shot, and then like the next day I went 2 blocks over. No, outside of Atlantis, like south of Atlantis. You know, in Lantana, in like the Spanish hood. I literally watched a dude get shot, and then he was like, "Oh, my bad." Like they settled some shit right there at the party. And I was like, "Oh fuck!" And then like the next day or a couple days later, I went to my friend's house who lived in Atlantis, And you know, we just fucked around there and got fucked up. But like where
it's
I'm
like
from,
that meme though.
where I'm from in like
meme.
all the other states, it's like here's the bad part of town, and it gradually gets to the nice part of town. In Florida, it's like all bad,
Yeah.
and then like nice neighborhood, nice neighborhood, nice neighborhood, nice safe zone,
Yeah.
safe. It's like tag.
Yeah.
It's like a whole state of tag.
Yeah.
Like you're running to
Yeah.
the I'm safe.
I
I'm
never
safe here.
realized that, but I mean that's how it is up in Tennessee. So actually, yeah.
It's nice, right? It's like there's the nice part or the bad part, and then it slowly goes to the nice part. That's how
and
it
then
is.
It's just nice.
Yeah, that's how it is in
Mhm.
every single
That's how
other
it is in
fucking
Atlanta,
state.
Yeah. That's how it is out here in Atlanta.
That's how it is in every single fucking
Coming
state
from
except for
though,
Florida.
you know
Why?
that. Like you know that growing up, like you know you've got a spot on South Beach that's
Yeah.
where it's safe.
Yeah.
And you tell friends who are visiting, you're like, yo, 2-3 blocks
Don't. Yeah.
west of the beach, like you're
It's
fucked
bad.
up. Go
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Go
Yeah.
back. As soon as you get to little shitty apartments by the bay, go back. Go back quick. Like, and it's one of those things people don't understand about growing up in Florida, like that meme where it's like when people tell you they're from Florida, it sounds like a threat. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and people don't understand, like, we grew up in such a weird place. It's summer all year round. So there's a chance that any day you're going to have a 100-degree with 100% humidity hit you at any time. On top of that, the ocean might smack the shit out of your neighborhood. On top of that, you got every weirdo from every other
In
state.
Florida,
going
man,
to
make
your
them
state
crash
to get
into your
away
house.
from shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got so many different crazy elements of weirdness. You got people coming from the Caribbean. You got old school rednecks who have their old school redneck ways. You got fucking
New Yorkers.
Cubans wild as fuck. You got Northeasterners in general bringing a super aggressive attitude down. That's like
And COVID.
it's such a
COVID,
it's
yeah.
such a crazy hot pot. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
you can't describe it to anybody else. And like being
It's
from
just a
Florida,
melting
people
pot of
are like,
mess.
Of
yeah,
meth.
and it's
No, of
hot
meth.
as fuck all the time. It's wild as fuck all
Well,
the time.
that too, I guess.
There's a
People don't
melting pot of
understand
meth.
what it's like growing up in such a like almost
No, they
fucking
think it's great.
nonsensical place.
I mean,
Yeah.
everyone's like, why did you move here from there? Like, why don't you go down there and hang out and come back to me and talk to me? And like,
Yeah.
you'll figure out real quick why I moved.
yeah,
Literally,
exactly.
literally go to your tourist spot and then take a 5-minute walk in any direction away from the touristy spot and say hello to the first person you meet on the street. I did that this last time. Yes, no, literally that happened to me when I moved down here this time, because I'd moved down here 3 times in my life to like live with my dad. And this last time, like I was like 16 years ago, I stayed now, right? But I was just walking down the street. I was in Palm Springs too. I was like, do, hello, sir. And he said, fuck you. And I was like, oh, all right.
Did he
Turned
really?
around.
Like,
Yeah.
he legit
He
said
got in my
that.
face. He's like, fuck you. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm
Bro,
just
it's
do.
you don't
I
even
turned
realize
around.
it though. Being from there, like when I moved to Texas, like in 2009 from Florida, we were living in a little apartment in Boynton. Me and my homeboy, like East Boynton, and me and my girl moved to Texas, and we realized like a week being in Texas, I was like, hey, I think we're assholes. Like, I think we're fucking like really assholes. People are saying hi to us and introducing themselves. And
Yeah,
like, howdy,
on
y'all
the
know
street.
What church y'all go to? And we're like,
Yeah,
fuck are
yo.
you? Like, we're like looking behind us, like, is somebody gonna hit me with a wrench? Because
Yeah.
we're cynical as fuck.
Yeah, it's
From fucking
Florida.
Florida. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Living
It's funny
in
you say
Florida.
that because when we visited Nashville before we decided we were going to move there, we liked all the night though. Everyone would talk to us, and we're like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck you want from me?" Like,
That's
Yes,
literally
my
how
wife
I
and I went
moved
through
to
that
Florida. I
Bro.
moved to Florida and was like, hello, new
Now I-
friend. And they were like, fuck you. All right, bye.
yeah, like when people talk to you, you're like,
Last
when you go
year,
somewhere-
or earlier
Yeah.
this year, I was in town earlier this year. I got a 5-year-old daughter. We moved here when she was like 18 months old. So like she's been here in Atlanta most of her life. She chats with everybody. She's like a fucking little Southern belle and shit. And she told me last time we were in Florida, she's like, people really have Florida manners here. And that's what we fucking call it. We're like, kids
She
in
calls it,
Florida.
your 5-year-old calls it Florida
We
manners.
got
That's
Florida
Florida manners.
Like I'll say like mother.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
Fuck her in the car and she'll be like, Daddy, those are Florida manners. Like, and it's fucking like, you grew up that way, but you grew up like where you realize like people will use the front end of their weapon, of their vehicle like a weapon.
Yeah.
People will use their front quarter panel like it's armored. Like they will shove it in front of you and they don't give a fuck about the consequences. People in Florida drive like they're ready to die every fucking
Yeah.
day. And that's the combination of old school rednecks with a souped up, stacked up, whatever the fuck, crazy people from the Caribbean who come from a place where they don't really pay that much attention to stoplights, and people from the Northeast who think that their fucking agenda is the most important thing on the fucking highway that needs
yeah, because it doesn't snow here, so they're like, I can drive.
Bro, and then you've got these motherfuckers who aren't used to being in town, and when the sky opens and drops 90,000 gallons of water on per car, fucking, and they don't know what to do, like, that's one of my, again, like, to me, Florida, when I tell people I'm from Florida, either they're like, oh my God, what fun, or they're like, oh shit.
Oh shit.
For real?
Yeah, like, those are the people that have been there and have been to the not touristy parts. They're just like, oh shit.
You come on vacation, you come on vacation, you leave on probation, you return on violation. That's how the fuck it goes in Florida if you're not from there. People don't understand. It will suck you in. It'll absorb you and fuck you up and spit you back out on the beach with no clothes on. And your dick all sandy.
I just feel bad for people that don't know any better. Like my wife, we met down here, but she moved down here and like she was nice, and then when she came down, she became an asshole.
Yeah, right.
Because like it's just like because you have to like
survival mechanism.
Only way you can fucking survive down here.
Dude, my wife has a bunch of friends from Illinois. Like, they're super nice, Midwestern, like, salt-of-the-earth people. And they're not all from Illinois, but they came down from Illinois, like, when the two companies that she worked
they're nice up there, yeah.
This is back in Florida. Super nice. Yeah. A lot of them are here in Atlanta now because they followed along to this company that she's with now. But prior, like, I'd be hanging out with them, and they'd be like, some of the girls would be like, oh, you know, I'm going to try and I can't meet a nice guy here. And I'm like, fuck, no.
No.
Like, what the fuck do you expect? Florida.
Right.
The dudes like, is there like, you know, good chicks, nice chicks? It's like,
no. I got one.
You should import one.
Yeah. Like, I got one, and good luck. That's pretty much it. Like, if you're married, you're like, I got one. Good luck.
So I don't know. No, I don't know if this happens in Atlanta, but like I have friends who come visit me in Nashville, and like girls just walk up and start talking to you.
Yeah.
People in general,
and so like.
Yeah.
But like, I mean. In Florida, that would happen.
All over except for Florida.
That happens in Florida.
Yeah. No, as soon as a girl's talking to me, I'm like, where's your boyfriend and his friends that are getting ready to rob you?
Or if you're just asking, or if you're just walking by a girl asking how she's doing down here, they'll be like,
oh no,
they think you want something.
Cash me outside, girl, immediately.
Yeah. So people when they come, my friends that come visit, they're like, girls walk up to me at the bar here. I'm like, because
people
they're just a human. That's what humans do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a ball game, man.
To be fair, that's what humans do in the rest of the United States and like Canada, right?
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Have you been to Europe?
I have.
It's a mixed bag, you know. It's a mixed bag of the person that you're talking to is either Florida man or Florida woman or the rest of the United States. Like you're going to get hit or you're going to get kissed if you talk to a girl in Europe.
Right. That's the thing too, right? There are like those cultural
There's no in between.
There's no in between in Europe. No in between. That's a good point.
There's no in between. It's either
Yeah.
And I think we've lost the recognition of that in the States. Like we used to be a lot more like Europe, where each state was kind of an autonomous fucking place with its own culture and its own like total vibe. Where like Louisiana is not the same as Florida. They each got a swamp, but it ain't the same fucking thing. Yeah. Like Texas and California both got deserts. They ain't the same. Yeah. Like they're just different. They're different lands, and we're
different
losing
countries
that now in this country. Yeah, they're different fucking countries. They are different states.
Yeah.
They are united by this fucking whatever the fuck, and
America.
We've lost that recognition of each state's like sovereignty and autonomy. Where it's like I think we should let some states be like, fuck it, no mask, fucking play that fucking.
Dude, Texas. I don't know why. You know when
Texas... Georgia did?
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta. Fucking Georgia. They don't.
Oh, you're right. You got Kemp. Yeah, he said, fuck it.
He's suing the mayor. He's suing Mayor Bottoms out here in Atlanta because she's pushing
Kemp
the mask.
Is?
Yeah. So the governor is suing the mayor because the mayor is pushing the mask.
Really?
The governor's
I missed that part.
Bro, it's getting weird out here, man. The Atlanta PD in the city is no longer answering calls.
That's true. So
that's
true. Like I've been hearing that. That's true.
Yeah. So the adjacent cities
that's true shit. That's really happening.
Dude, I haven't gotten a ticket in like 4 or 5 years. Now I just got one for running a light the other day because because the Cobb County cops where I'm at are extra turned up because Atlanta, all their crime is bleeding out. It's getting weird, bro. It's getting creepy.
So why would that give you a ticket?
Because I was running a red light fucking off, and there were just more cops out than there normally would be. So I got.
Isn't it adjacent?
So they just over. Yeah, they're not doing anything else.
Well, no.
Because all the adjacent areas are like kind of fucking wild right now.
So you're close to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like 30 minutes,
okay.
35 minutes north of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So my area is a suburb right outside of Atlanta.
Hold on.
There's like one suburb in between my suburb and Atlanta.
Hold on. We're skipping over something that just because the three, like I lived in Florida for a long time and you guys grew up here. We're skipping over something very important that people in literally the rest of the nation don't consider 30 minutes away close. Just want to put that out there.
In Florida, people don't.
Yeah, because everything's far away, and yes, that's what I'm saying. The only reason all of us just kind of went through that statement when he was like, "Oh yeah, it's right next door. It's only 30 minutes away." No.
Yeah,
well, that's how I think.
That is a Florida thing. That's a Florida thing.
Really?
Yes.
That thinking everything's far. That's a good point because
when 30 minutes away isn't far, that is 100% a Florida thing. Because every other state that I've lived in, you're like, it's 30 minutes away. They're like, that's too far, man. That's not close. Close is like 5 minutes away. That's what I'm saying. You're other place.
I've had bandmates here in Atlanta who are like, "Hey, thanks for always coming out here."
And you're like
25-minute drive, and I'm like, I smoke a joint on the ride. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
what?
I listen to some music. I catch up on a Joe Rogan podcast or some shit.
I've got people who are like, "How far are you from Nashville?" Because I'm in Nashville, like Nashville address, but it's like 20 minutes from downtown. I'm like, "Oh, 20 minutes." They're like, "Oh, that's far." Like, no, not really.
I told you.
I mean, like that's like 4 or 5 songs on the radio. Like,
I'll take a bite to that. I'll take a
bite
for 20 minutes.
No. I'm telling you, man. Growing up in California, Colorado,
I've never thought about
New
that.
York,
That makes so much sense.
a couple other states, even Texas, where everything's big and wide open.
Yeah.
There's cities, though. Everything is right next to each other.
Yeah.
So if anything's like 30, 40 minutes away, they're like, well, that's too far. I'm sorry, I'm not going.
I wonder if it's by the virtue of that Florida is almost kind of like 4 states.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's such a big state.
Everything's so far away.
Just how big it is. You have like these little pockets where it's like Orlando to Miami on the east side is a state, and then you've got like Tampa down to the Glades or to the Keys is a state on the
West Coast
side.
is its own
and then
thing.
you've got the Gulf Panhandle is a state, and then you've
Panhandle's
got the
its own.
East Coast is its own fucking state. Like there's 4 because they all have very fucking different cultures and vibes. Like that
but
Lake
in
Okeechobee
all of them
area is its own little weird thing too.
Yeah. But in all
of them, everything is so far away.
Everything's far away. Exactly. Like
because everything's built in straight lines.
Yeah, exactly. Like when people talk about, here's the other thing I find funny. People from New Jersey, when they come down,
45-minute markers in Florida.
Yeah, they're like how many exits? I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. Where in New Jersey, where like every 2 miles there's an exit. Once you get to a certain point in Florida, the next exit is 5 miles away. Then the next 3 exits are 1 mile apart. Then the next exit is 11 miles away.
Right.
Then the next exit is like 20 miles away, and you're like, what? Yeah. What if I break down? It's like, good luck, man. Like, there's fun.
Godspeed, bro.
Yeah,
Florida, son.
Right?
You've been offered to the Florida gods.
And the only other state I've seen where you're like on the highway and all you see is trees and then exits that look like they go into nowhere is Louisiana. But like Louisiana,
sometimes you get off of a fucking elevated highway and you go down
into the darkness.
Like, it's like, am I going into the water? Like, am I going into the fucking bayou? Like Louisiana, you go into those wards where it's like war, and you go down into like a dark little weird spot. Now, and it'll open up again, but outside of actual fucking like the big city spots, like those little country spots, especially Louisiana, where it's like that Louisiana, Alabama fucking shit. That's some old school weird, like you turn down the wrong road.
That's the South.
Not get home.
That's the South.
Oh,
yeah, but Florida has that same, but like even worse because the stretches in between exits are crazy. But it's like, you're like, oh yeah, I got to go to my friend's house in Hobe Sound. That's like 45 minutes away, and then I get off the exit, you know? Like, whatever. Like,
well, I've got a theory as to why Florida's hillbillies don't get the same kind of like accolades, or so to speak, or clout that the hillbillies in like Alabama or in like West Virginia get. I think it's because people don't survive like Florida hillbilly or swamp billy encounters. Like I think fucking Florida fucking country
You
folk,
don't-
like if they're gonna ice somebody, like that's it, man. There's a lot of shit that eats you,
But-
bro. Like they don't
They blast them up.
you don't
Yeah.
get found. From black bears to anacondas, it's going down in Florida. Like,
But what
shit
I'm saying is
wild.
like
Mhm.
our jump from like West Palm to Port St. Lucie, that's like nothing, right? Or West Palm
That's
to
like
Hope
Fort-
When
Sound.
I'm in town, I stay at my family's
Yeah.
place in Port St. Lucie and come down to West Palm Beach to kick it with all y'all boys. Yeah,
That-
It's like 45
that
minutes.
shit.
That
40,
that
45, exactly.
Yeah,
that
it's not
trip
long at all.
that trip when I lived in California was like we're going camping and we're staying someplace for a few days. Like to make that long of a drive, right? Or it's like, oh, we're real close to taking a road trip. We might as well just take a road trip to Colorado. Like that's like if you're going to be on the road for a couple hours, you might be on the road. You might as well be on the road for a couple days. That's why
funny as fuck.
when you guys tell people in where you're at, like, oh, I'm only 30 minutes away, they're like, I don't want to trouble you. Like that's the other thing too. So like gas, when I was driving in California and Colorado, like everything is so close together, and all the people that you hang out with are all packed on top of each other so much that like you could literally say like, yeah, I'll just take a few bucks for gas. Whereas here you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to drive 10
I
miles
need
to
20
drive.
bucks.
Yeah, I'm gonna need $20 because I need to drive 10 miles out of my way to give you a ride
10
home
miles
and
back,
10
yeah.
miles back. And it's Florida, so I'm gonna be on the road for like 45 minutes. Like, and that's like in town. That's in
And
town.
then I might catch a random 3
Yeah.
a.m. traffic jam
Right?
anywhere. In the
Anywhere,
state.
and that's
Mhm.
in town.
Anywhere in
That's
the
in
state.
town. That doesn't.
Yeah.
And you almost save more money, like if you had to drop your friend off in Port St.
If
Lucie.
you're on I-95,
Yeah.
595, 826,
Something-
836, the
a truck
Turnpike
is gonna
or the
flip over
Sawgrass,
somewhere.
If you're on 75, any of those highways, you are
Somebody's
subject to a random traffic jam at
Any time.
motherfucking
I-4.
There's
Yeah.
no
I-4.
see. That's the other thing too.
Yeah, 4 is another one. 4
Have you guys-
Alligator Alley?
Four's
that
one of the
bitch.
worst in the country.
Have you
It's
guys?
such just a straight shot. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Have you guys been with like your friends in those states and you run into a traffic jam and they're like, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever," and you're just like, "Oh man, like
Yep.
this
It's
is
like a whatever
driving.
kinda- yeah,
This is
yeah.
I tell
driving."
people that all the time. People in Nashville complain all the time. This is the worst traffic. Most people there come from like another small town songwriters
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
make it. You know, the
Yeah,
only people that I had known there that didn't complain, they were from Atlanta, L.A., or Florida.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you
everyone,
guys-
everyone else
Atlanta.
everyone else thinks it's the worst.
It's the worst
Like,
thing
they-
ever. And you're just
Everybody
like,
said the
yeah.
same shit. Everyone said the same shit. Like, oh man, fucking Atlanta traffic, bro. It's crazy. You're gonna see it's bad. And I'm like, oh really? Okay, must be wild. You know, it's a city, so I figured, yeah, it could be crazy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
But
I
you're
was taught
moving,
in
right?
Miami. But I was taught in Miami
Miami's-
by a Brooklyn Guinea. My grandfather was a Brooklyn Italian, and he's the one who taught me how to drive in Miami. So I got like
Ugh.
that fucking wild, like. I'm in Atlanta, and it's like there's a lot of cars. It's different than it being bad traffic.
You're moving.
It's a lot of.
Well,
But they're
here-
fucking polite. out
You're
here. They
moving,
thinker,
too.
They wave. They
Yeah.
thank you and shit. They're like,
We're in
"Thank you
Atlanta?
for letting me
Yeah.
in on the
Yeah.
yeah. People
Yeah.
are fucking courteous as fuck. It's
Yeah.
like this is not bad traffic. This doesn't feel like a battleground. If anything, I get a little irritated sometimes because people almost seem like they're always on like a leisure drive. Like when I'm
Yeah.
like cruising through the city and I'm
Yeah.
trying to get the fuck out of Dodge before rush hour or whatever. Because the only problem is that sometimes it gets a little bogged down because a lot of cars and they're all trying to let each other in. Like
yeah,
that's what
everybody.
it feels
No,
like
you go.
sometimes.
But-
no, you go.
Here's the other thing that I tell people when I'm like, oh, traffic in Florida is way worse. They don't understand. The thing about Florida is down here we've got one interstate. Nashville, we got like 5
Yeah,
interstates.
and they
Like,
all-
I can just jump.
and
I
they-
can jump on another
Yeah.
interstate,
Right.
avoid all that traffic, and I'm good. Like if I'm broke and I need to get to West Palm, I'm fucked. Like I literally gotta sit there. I don't want to go up, US 1 or something.
I was gonna say,
It's
oh,
take
you
just as
risk
long
and
as that.
Yeah,
traffic.
yes,
Traffic,
yes.
whatever.
A million
Then
stoplights.
everyone's getting off and doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you're gonna do that game of like, all right, I'm gonna take military up for a while. I'll start
then
at
I'll
Power
cut
Line,
over.
Go north
Yeah.
on that, fucking jump over.
But everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody.
Getting-
You might as well
Remember the
just
old-
stay
Yeah.
on it.
You remember the old school
Yeah.
GTA that was like top down, Grand
Yeah.
Theft Auto, where it was like you're just
Yeah.
like that's what fucking in your mind. when
Yes, you're
Florida
playing
driver,
that.
you
Yeah,
have
you're
that
doing that,
fucking-
exactly.
it's like,
You're
all right,
mapping
here
out
I'm
your
going,
route.
and I'm going over this way.
There's
Fuck you.
Only one other place where I can compare the traffic, and that's downtown Los
LA.
Angeles. But
Yeah,
the
LA's pretty
problem is
I've never
with
driven in LA.
Florida is downtown Los Angeles is just downtown Los Angeles, right? That sucks.
Yeah.
But downtown Los Angeles is the entire state of Florida when it comes to driving. The whole thing is downtown LA.
At least from the coast, yeah.
Yeah.
And Orlando.
And each segment, each sector, whatever you want to call it, of Florida has its own like little nuances and shit you need to know about. Like
how
Miami,
you go through roundabouts.
You've got Caribbean aggression in
Yeah.
Miami specifically. And in Miami you have
all the way
most
up here
poor
too.
people and the most wealthy people. So poor people drive like they're going to their third fucking job because that's what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
And fucking really wealthy people drive like their fucking time is the most important thing in the world because theoretically
Kind of it is.
costs the most.
Yeah.
Right. So fucking
Richest people in the world.
Then you got people from Latin America and the Caribbean, bro. And let me tell you, that's my father's side.
They're ready
people
to
who
die.
grow up on islands, their traffic laws don't apply.
Oh.
Like they just wing it. Like
Like,
there's
oh,
enough
yes.
macheteings going on that the cops aren't like big on stops. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that whole fucking amalgam down in Miami, you got super aggressive situation. Then in Broward County, okay, you've got a mass amount of people that are elderly. Like that's fucking God.
Yeah, Broward up. It's just people.
Broward
who,
up is old.
Need
100.
4 days to get somewhere.
Are trying to walk across a Publix parking lot
Run.
in Hallandale Beach, Florida.
Run.
Okay, get ready to jump because you gotta at least hope you go over the hood
Yeah,
and
not under.
wheels.
Yeah.
Because if you go under the wheels, they're not gonna hear you scream. They're dragging you all the way back to Century Village.
Yep.
And it's gonna be a long fucking ride from Costco.
Yep.
They're gonna fucking fuck your world up.
And it's a caddy too, so they don't feel it.
Did you hear-
It's a nice smooth Lincoln. They don't feel
Yeah.
any bumps. They don't
They don't
you
feel
pain.
anything.
Fucking
Caddy,
right, boy.
Lincoln, some giant
Speaking
piece
of
of metal.
Broward County, you know they want to change the name of Broward County
To what? Black?
because
Not
Napoleon
racist?
Bonaparte. Yeah, because Napoleon Bonaparte Broward, the guy whose name I'm not kidding you. He there's a petition because he was tied to segregation.
So was like everybody in
Like,
the
literally,
Valley
yeah.
era.
Like Broward
Literally-
Medical, like everything.
You-
Literally everything's gonna get changed.
You literally
That's
to do what
It's such a waste of energy and
Yes.
resources.
to do what
That's
Yeah, I
what
agree.
I really don't care if the guy was. I don't know enough about the guy to be like yes or no. I
Napoleon?
don't give a shit. But the time that could be fucking better spent actually doing shit for people with
Listen.
that money and that effort. God damn, what a fucking that's insanity.
Listen, man.
Yeah.
Like, if the people that want to start getting rid of this stuff really want to do what they want to do, they literally need to like erase history from like 1960 and then till the beginning of time. Like,
I'd go like 1971.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
When the Mod
Yeah.
Squad was on TV.
yeah. Like,
First,
no, like the mid 60s
Samson's
is
son.
is
Samson's son.
mid 60s is Uhura and Scotty doing their first kiss on TV. First interracial kiss on TV.
Okay. Was
And
that
then-
Scotty
But, like-
or was that was Kirk?
Scott.
That was
No,
Kirk
no.
Uhura.
Scotty and Uhura. That's Scotty's bitch.
I thought it was Kirk and
But the
Uhura.
reality is,
Oh.
like,
No.
why
The
would we-
new and the reboot. Like all my super Trekkie nerd friends, they're like, "Why the fuck is Kirk screwing her?"
If my brother
Like,
Mario
that's-
is watching this, he knows. For
He's
sure
like,
he's
"That's
gonna text
that's
me.
Scotty's girl." Like I had to hear about that shit every single day when I worked at Guitar Center because like a bunch of Trekkies work there, and they're like, "That's Scotty's girl. That's Scotty's girl." And
Yeah,
I'm like,
see, I don't know from
I'm like,
Star Trek
Jesus
that much.
Christ. The only
I
reason
only
I
got-
know that,
I
and
only
they
know
would
shit
tell me
about
that that's
Star
the
Trek
first
because my kid
interracial
brother.
kiss. They would tell me that like
Oh.
that's the first interracial kiss. That's why it's important that it's Scotty and Uhura and all that stuff. But like, so I like I'm like even being generous. Like I agree with you, Andrew. Like maybe 1971 before. I'm just like being a little
What's
bit
the-
generous.
Yeah.
Don't even erase it. Like it doesn't
they
do
want
anything.
to.
Like who literally like has pancakes in the morning and is like, oh, Aunt Jemima, like she's
Well, that's
racist.
the thing. Okay, the Aunt Jemima one and the Uncle Ben one. It's like that one makes such little sense.
Black-
because to me,
Black
I
people aren't
just like,
mad about
Aunt
that
Jemima,
though.
Well, it's like Aunt Jemima makes pancakes. That's all I can think
And
about.
it-
Like,
Well, not
I don't
even
think
that.
Mammy
Black
and shit
people
like
aren't
that.
mad
I
about-
just thought-
that.
Nobody watches the Washington Redskins and is like, oh, these guys are racist.
Do you know
I don't even
who?
think about it.
Do you
I
know?
don't who? First of all, who the fuck watches the Washington Redskins?
Dude, I-
Well, that's the first argument.
I know
Yeah,
who
all
watches.
the
Do
shit
you
to
want?
worry
Do you
about.
want to know who watches the Washington Redskins? Every fucking Native American tribe in the United States, and that is their
And that's
favorite
okay.
team. No, that's
Yeah.
their favorite team, no matter what state they live in. They're like, that's my
Yeah.
team. Like literally, you have like hundreds of thousands of Native Americans just wrapped up and like invested in Redskins gear that are pissed. And it's literally less than like 2% of the native tribes that are like mad about it. That's literally the culture we live in right now. There's a massive protest with Native Americans that love the name the Redskins and that love the team the Redskins, and like because they're like that unifies us as like one people, like something, because it's America. Americans love football. That unifies them like all together, and they love it. And they're like, why do we have to lose this thing because 2% of our people are like, I'm offended? And these are like they're like they're getting like New Zealandy warrior like upset. They're like fucking like pounding their chest and yelling and shit. I'm like,
I didn't know that.
Dude, what's the hell? Well, like I don't understand that, man. And like I've met a lot of Native American people because when I had when I had long hair, I'd accidentally get wrapped up into being taken on the reservation and hanging out. I think I've told you a few stories, Andrew.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah. Possible treason by accident took place. Anyway, because I'm not native, but like I look like a Native American with long hair.
I can see it. Yeah,
dude. No, like I got some pictures I can show you. They called me Tonto every place I worked with no like, without me like saying like, hey, they call me Tonto. They're like, Tonto. I'm like, all right. Anyway, like yeah, just totally all the time. And like that was one of the few things they're like, hey man, you watch football? And I'm like, no. And they're like, Redskins for life. And I'm like, literally every single like Native American I've ever like hung out with and like had like beers, and like they get fucked up and just tell me how much they love the Redskins. This is our year every fucking year. And I'm like, all right, man.
Well, it's one of those
I don't know football like that.
Everybody's trying to like fit everything into these little boxes.
Yes.
Like they want to talk about like Latinos, like Latinos. Man, Latinos are not a monolith. We're a bunch of different shit. Well, that's exactly. I mean,
isn't that fascism?
Listen, I contend. When Daniil and I had spoken in the past, we were talking about how like white and black America almost are like this weird, like broken up couple who still have the same circle of friends, and like white America used to slap black America back when they were in their relationship, and white America's like changed a lot, but black America doesn't let it go, and kind of rightfully so. But then also it's like white America's like tired of hearing about that shit because he went to counseling, and it's like, what do you?
No, white America is dead, and it's white America's kids that are getting slapped around by black America that still exists.
But would it even be that bad though if it wasn't for the media? No.
Listen, when I was growing up, like I was saying, white kids, Latino kids, black kids, all in the neighborhood, and everybody was
everyone fucked with each other.
Everybody fucked with each other. I'll never forget, bro, and that's another Florida thing I think in a lot of ways. I'll never forget around the time of my wedding, like we got married in like 2010 or 2011. I'll have to make sure of that, or else that could be a problem. But fucking
cut this part from the video.
Right. Fucking, when I was in Texas, I met this dude. He was a cool cat, and he was like a younger dude, and he was in my neighborhood, and we became buddies, and we would hang out, work out, whatever. And he had Crohn's disease and shit, so he was trying to find different like fitness shit to like make himself stronger. And I was at the time still involved in jiu-jitsu, and I was traveling to spar and stuff like that, and involved in kickboxing. And fucking, he was just the sweetest kid. And when I was getting married, he was like, man, I'm coming out there. And I was like, look, I knew he didn't have a lot of cash. I was like, if you fucking come out here, you can stay in my house, all that kind of shit. So, and it was all good. We had a great time. We got from the airport, me and my brother Warren picked him. My brother Warren looks like a lot like me, but maybe like 2 or 3 shades darker. Looks like a lot more Latino, so to speak. And then we're brothers though. And I got another brother Mario who's like lighter than me by a couple of shades. And then another brother Ray who's like in the same wheelhouse. And we got another brother who's older who was black. Like, so like the whole gamut, right? And so he's with me, my brother, a white boy who's like a classic Florida white boy, my boy Jake at the time, was my guitar player in my band. And he's like in the car chilling. Yeah, I'm in a band. I'm in a band called Midnight Fires right now.
I'm in a band too.
What kind of music?
They play. You would love. I'm gonna link you some of like the one little thing they did when they were out in Atlanta. It's like better than rock.
Emo, screamo.
No.
I guess they call it like outlaw soul. Like it's like got some country elements, some blues elements. Like we're both like southern dudes, I guess. Like It's interesting. You know, it's kind of becoming its own thing. But the album will be out.
Yeah, link me that shit. Send me that shit.
Definitely.
I'll check it out.
I'll have
I didn't know
in the
that.
description of the video.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I forgot completely where I was.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's all right. I'll talk about myself anytime.
Wedding.
Oh, so my boy comes into town, and we get from the airport in Miami to the neighborhood, which is 45 minutes away, like we were just saying. He came into Miami International. We drove to Miramar, and when we got to my brother's spot, my other brother Charlie, who's a Florida white boy, is my stepbrother. But we don't got no step. He's like my brother. You know
Florida white boy.
And which is a special kind of white boy. A certain type.
Yeah, that's different too than
it is a different kind, than anywhere else, bro. And so, my brother Charlie, their homeboy Chinaman, who's a Filipino kid. Our other homeboy Arturo, who's a half Cuban, half Chinese kid. Our neighbor Everett, who's a Bohemian guy. This Rasta cat, who my brother is tight with, and me. My boy Jake, who's another Florida white boy, my brother, and a couple other random kids, and just a normal Florida mix and match, yeah. And I'm looking at my boy Jeff, and he's looking funny, and I'm thinking is he smoking too much weed, or is he just jet lagged, or is it his Crohn's disease or whatever the fuck? I look over at him, and he's looking confused. I'm like, you alright, brother? And he's like, yeah, man. You know what? I just never fucking been around this many different kind of people before. And I was like,
wow.
For real? And he was like,
in Miami.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he was from Texas. He was from somewhere near Fort Worth. I think it was called Boyd, Texas. And he was he goes, man, I thought Haitians were a myth. And I was like, what? He was just so unsocialized. And he's a fucking awesome dude. And we're still buddies and shit too. We still chat on Facebook. And he told me straight up, it was a transformative experience for him because he'd never been around such a. And my wife is half Moroccan, half Russian, all Jewish. So he met her family and shit. So he's like, I never met Jews. He was the first Jew I met. And he is just, he had that experience. And again, I think we forget in Florida how closely mushed together everybody is too. When you have those wealthy neighborhoods in a pocket of an old neighborhood, and you have all these different communities. This is a Colombian area, a Cuban area, a Peruvian area. This is old school Liberty City. This was the Black Renaissance Harlem of Florida. This was you have all these different pockets and communities, and they're all on top of each other. You have little Haiti, little Vietnam, right in the same area. So I think what we don't realize is how unsegregated shit is in our state, in our home state, of Florida. And Mike's favorite beloved state.
I love Florida. I don't ever want to leave. It's expensive, which just means we gotta start making some good money with this podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
So I never want to leave here. It's truly so. What I feel the disconnect between the rest of the country. I basically grew up in the rest of the country, right? I was literally all over, and then I literally traveled the world too before I settled here. So the disconnect I think between Florida and the rest of the country is
the people.
Well, Florida is what America. When other people from other countries talk about America and how free it is and how you can start all the old Cuban guys will be you can start a business from the trunk of your car, and then a couple years later be an employee.
You sell shrimp.
Yeah,
it's what America should have been.
Yeah, it is what America is to the rest of the world, and what America used to be all over, and now the rest of the country is all. I don't know. The rest of the country is just weird. But I mean, and it's not even that it wasn't weird when I was growing up in it. That was just what was normal to me. So and after experiencing how the rest of the world really truly isn't as free as us, regardless of what Nordic country you're in, everybody says all these Icelandic countries and Switzerland are truly more free. But but you're paying 50 to 70% of your paycheck to live in a police state where they take care of you. And they tell you it's good and it's nice.
And they don't have good economies.
Yeah, they don't have good economies. But the other thing is too, the places like Sweden is the worst example when everybody brings up this stuff about how socialism works, because they literally got to a point where Sweden, old Swedish guys will tell you this, because
Sweden didn't even shut down.
No, well, here's the crazy thing. Just the history of Sweden. Old Swedish people, if you go to Sweden, they'll be I hate this socialism crap. I worked so hard, and I got to keep 100% of my money, And now, like, I have to give 70% of my retirement so these fucks can go to school. And all those kids are like, it's great. We love it. It's socialism works. And I'm like, no, you guys are literally taking your old people's money that they worked really hard in a 100% capitalist system to build for you. And what are you guys going to do? You guys don't run off of a capitalist society anymore. And old people are like, we used to do it where we would, one generation would work really hard, and then the other generation would, grow up free, right? Everything was free for them. But then they knew they had to work hard again to make everything free for the kids growing up. But the older guys from Sweden, they're like, but these kids never grow up. They're just like, oh, everything's just free all the time. Yeah, there's free, everything's free all the time.
Well, so then for me, dude, you're not gonna get any Cuban Americans on that socialism pitch. Like, it never is gonna happen. And then on the other end too, like the
because they've been
fucking came over here.
Yeah,
exactly. The Italians that came over here after World War I in my side of the family, on my mother's side of my family, same shit.
I don't know.
All this socialism
caused
all these fucking wars.
New York is pretty much Italian, man, and like it only took like 3 generations.
Anymore,
but I mean, but it only took
only
took 3 generations for the young Italian kids to be like,
yeah,
it's New York. We fucking love socialism.
New York is barely Italian anymore. New
York's barely New York anymore.
There's tons of Chinese money. All the old Italian spots are mostly Russian.
Yeah, and that's why New York's dangerous.
It's not. Yeah, it's not.
It's China and Russia.
You've got guineas like in Long Island.
That's why New York's dangerous.
Brooklyn and Jersey, but there's very small. The Italian communities are very small now. There's more Italian people in Florida.
I liked old New York, and when I say old New York, like I went there like in the late '90s and then the early 2000s, right after 9/11.
That's the reason. What's left of old New York is Florida in many cases. Florida and Arizona.
That's good. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. The good New Yorkers are down here.
Do you guys?
New Yorkers 60 years old, 50 years old and above.
Yeah.
Do you guys know any Cubans or anybody who like older that have like lived through that and they're like,
dude, his family, he'll tell you.
Yeah, my father came over here after the revolution.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's in his 60s.
Is he seeing what happened over there happening here?
I mean, a lot of my family, they're pretty staunchly advocate against what's happened. I mean, but again,
right. But I'm saying, are they seeing the trends of us going that way? Are they seeing the trends of us going that way?
No, I think it's different because back then we didn't have the resources that we have now. Like the beauty of what's going on now is like the information that we all have. Even people who like myself skew to the center. Like me and Mike have talked about this dozens of times. 5 years ago, I would have been considered a liberal.
Yeah, no, I legit, you know what I mean? I was
classically liberal.
No, Matt knows me. Actually,
have guns, you should have guns. If you want to smoke reefer, you should smoke reefer. If you want to suck dicks, you should suck dicks. If you want to kill babies in your womb, kill them. I don't give a fuck.
Listen,
that's how they think. Yeah.
No, but listen, Matt,
I would have been a liberal, but now because I don't think I should be, I think I should be allowed to say whatever crazy shit I want to say. I should be able to call my cousins Spicks with love and not have
in the middle of the road.
For it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm considered centrist, but that's not left enough. You know what
that
I mean?
he's so, like considered right wing by left wing people.
Yeah, you can't have. I'm like alt right now because I'm a fucking left. And so like the only people you can have a rational conversation with are people who are either center or slightly to the right of center, or people who again like me who have I guess what you call leftward value, whatever the fuck. I don't even know what the titles mean anymore.
Yeah.
Because I never gave a fuck about that shit. But
center left
like,
leaning.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. And part of it comes from I don't care. If it's on my doorstep and I have to deal with it, I'll deal with it with brass.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I used to be. Matt knew me when I worked with him. I was the crazy. I was crazy left wing.
You and Matt Shaw would like go at it.
Yeah. I was crazy left wing as Matt is crazy right wing.
Right.
Yeah, I was. This is how when everybody asks me like, how do you know what these guys are gonna say? I'm like, I literally lived their stupid SJW, super left wing liberal values for like 8 years, and then
that's kind of why your COVID post on Facebook, like you said, Facebook started to surprise me. I'm like, whoa.
Dude, no, like that's the thing. Like I've seen a lot of people that knew me from back when I worked with you. Yeah. They're like, "This is weird." Like I thought you were like the worst.
That was really weird.
You were the worst asshole atheist I've ever met, and I'm like, dude, like I grew up, like I just fucking grew up, and now I can actually say those things. Like when people are like, you can't just say that these kids aren't growing up, that's why they're like that. I'm like, no, I can say that because I fucking grew up. I grew out of this bullshit of like ultra liberal left wing shit, and I didn't just go all the way to like Matt, like super right wing, get Trump tattooed on my wrist. You know, I fucking I just went like just to the most logical center point, because even when I was like super left, I thought I was at the most logical center point, but then I realized I'm like, whoa, no, this is like, why am I being an asshole to like religious people for no reason? Like, and then I started realizing when I had a disagreement, no matter how small it was, with other people that I was with on the left, like I would get chastised the fuck out of it. But then I would talk to like you. Actually, I'm gonna say like, Matt, you're probably one of the reasons why I'm like one of the people where I'm like, I would rather talk to a religious person and have a good conversation where like people are open-minded and we'll listen to each other and we can have a solid exchange as humans, rather than some asshole that's going to be like, you don't think this, you're a Nazi, like immediately, you know, like I don't want to deal with that. Too.
There's this image painted about, like, let's say religious people,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That they're going to not
by the people that I used to be. They're the ones painting that image.
Right? There are religious people who are not open-minded, plain and simple.
Yeah,
that's right.
Just
people
like
on
everybody.
my mother's side who had a problem with me marrying my wife because her family's Jewish. There were people, I'm sure, on her side who had problems with it, right? Until all of a sudden, like, when her cousins want to come from Israel, like, we're happy to help them do so. Until when my cousins need help with jobs or whatever, my wife's the one helping them.
Until
you know what I mean?
one hand washes the other.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like all that bullshit, all that clannish bullshit goes away once you actually fucking tribe up and do shit for each other.
But the religious people, almost no matter what religion, save for like one, right? Like, can all, like, I would rather talk to anybody of any religion. You know, fuck it, I'm even gonna say any religion. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Because those people, regardless if whatever values are extreme, like I would rather talk to like the Westboro Baptist Church people who are crazy religious, right? Like, they want to kill soldiers for defending America. I would rather talk to them because I could probably find just a basic human element common ground.
You don't get screamed at.
Yeah, well, I mean, you get screamed at by them,
well,
but like,
with them.
But you're not getting,
because
you're
cut from the same cloth as these people who are doing the screaming.
So okay, that's a bad example. Yeah.
Whether it's these people who are like throwing rocks at a woman because she showed her hair in the Middle East, or throwing gay dudes off a building, or screaming at you because you believe in a right or a left wing ideology.
Yeah.
Like, anybody who's a fucking ideologue, who's overzealous, is fucking, I think, fundamentally un-American.
However, there's less religious people that are ideologues, in my experience, than
these days maybe.
Right now,
religion is
an
like
ideologue.
Anything
I understand.
that you turn it into, like, so like when I was a little boy, my great grandmother, I was very fortunate to have her live with us. She grew up on a farm in Italy. She was super fucking Catholic. We used to go on a bus to the high mass at like 7 o'clock in the morning in fucking Latin.
Yeah, no, I was programmed in Catholic too. Yeah.
So I remember growing up with that, but in her building was a very, very elderly Jewish couple. The old man was a cantor, which was like an officiant in the synagogue. And on Friday, she would send me over there to turn shit on and off for them.
Yeah, because they can't do things. Yeah.
But in her mind, it was like, he's a religious person, and we have to respect that devotion, and that was mutual. Like, that was they would send things over like dishes.
That's
of
the
food
average. Yeah, that's the average religious person right now.
Right.
Well, I mean, for a while, right?
There's a degree of ethic and respect that gets taught through the
culture. What I'm saying now
this is interesting, though.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, this is interesting just because I've seen a lot of, like, I know a lot of people, like, I'm more right or in the middle, but I see a lot of people who've told me, like, they used to be super liberal, and they've kind of, you guys think it's more like just how that party responds to thing and how those people respond?
Yeah, it's the evolution of that party.
It's knee-jerk. It's knee-jerk, and it's all emotional.
Because that's what it seems like. Yeah.
It's the evolution of that party.
But you can't reason. You can't reason with them.
No, you can't. It's not even that you can't reason with them. It's like this. I think you know this guy I worked with, Matt. He used to play with one of these guitar for these reggae groups, Mike Lyons or whatever. I used to work with
Mike
him.
Lyons.
Yeah. I used to work with him at Guitar Center, and he used to be the biggest jock, right? Jock surfer bro,
Yeah.
right? He would fucking hit me. We had a game where we would like sneak around the corner and punch each other in the dick at work, right?
Yeah.
He would tell me the most vile shit that he would do to girls. I don't know if you're friends with him on Facebook.
I am.
Super. He's like as far left as you can go.
Yeah.
As hypocritical as you can be with everything that he says, right?
Well,
like,
we've talked about that
and he
a lot,
lives in
Mike.
the California bubble now too. Like that's all the thing.
We've talked about that a lot. There's a lot of people in our friend group in South Florida who talk all that game about all this shit, and I'm like, oh, I've thrown that person out of fucking propaganda for being so drunk that they're like being super fucking inappropriate to a young lady or something like that, or throwing sucker punches at people. And those are the same people who are making all these
that dude hit me.
Claims.
That dude hit me
funny.
because he thought I was making fun of how he talked, and I was talking about
it's
beer.
like the righteous thing.
Like,
there's
it's funny because my friends, we were talking, and they all voted for Trump and everything, and one of them's now like his girlfriend is like a liberal and stuff, and so he was like, he's like liberals are nicer, and I said, I think people just get the other side of the road.
If you toe the line.
If you toe the line, yeah. If you say the words,
if
you say the script.
But it goes to what you're saying, that they'll act nicer, but then like if you actually watch what they do and see how they do and respond to things, they're not. And I think people just get the one side. Like I would say, a lot of majority of right people make, and I think it's what you guys are talking about. Like it's just like it's like a tough love. Like they're just harder on you, and I think people take that the wrong way.
Yeah, on the right. Again,
There's also a cultural aspect to it, right? Like so you talk about platforms on the left where they talk about bringing in cultures from like South and Latin America. I come from these cultures, man. All the
you don't want that.
The KKK. So does the KKK.
All the things that they talk about from the left, all this inclusion and shit like that, that does not fucking exist in Latino culture, bro.
That's what I was saying.
That's
what's crazy. You can't be openly gay comfortably in Latin countries in many cases.
But
you can't.
But
even
like
get
that,
treated the same. It's not. So there is a willful intellectual laziness that is rampant on the left right now.
Yeah, but then they want to respect science with the coronavirus and all that stuff. But then when it comes to chromosomes, they don't want to respect science.
Well, it's one of those things too. When you want to talk about respecting culture, where it's like you better be aware that you're going to run yourself into cultures that don't respect you, bro. Like I grew up with Cuban refugees. I grew up with people who came from hard places. And if these folks want to invite that into their backyard, they don't understand. People coming from the third world aren't going to play by the same rules.
No,
they're not going to be worried about offending you or inclusion. They're gonna fucking be chopping your shit up with a máquina de serrucha. Like it's gonna be a bad fucking scene, man.
Dude,
it's gonna be a bad scene.
The best way to show the disconnect between these people, like your brother's friends that respond on Facebook, like
those furry kids.
No, that's not just the furry kids. Like just like like you and I have said like one thing on his comments, and then they
that's the
went
thing
crazy.
Too, right? Like I've said some stuff, and again, I don't understand all the Trump hate, but I'm not a Trump guy. I could give a fuck.
Right.
I don't think any politician is in this shit for us. I'm of the.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with that.
Your vote almost doesn't fucking matter. They're playing a different game.
Two sides of the same
coin. I always vote for a third party just because I almost want to prove that it's like this game is being played without us. Like it's being.
If the vote mattered, Trump wouldn't have won the last election.
That's what I'm saying. So it's one of those things where like, okay,
that's a specific.
How do we get to the point where so much of our country has lost the realization, or I don't know if we ever had it maybe, but how do we not recognize that so many of these issues are designed to be divisive and cut a line down the middle? Because while we're fighting each other, we can't recognize that every public servant in office over a certain degree of like position, they're all millionaires. How the fuck does that happen?
They didn't start that way either.
Why does that happen? Why don't we know how that fucking happens? And why are we asking how that happens?
I know how that happens.
Because
about abortion and shit.
Yeah, because the majority of the media is funded by Soros and the Clintons, and so they're pushing what's being taught. They know majority of people are headline readers. People don't fucking read.
Yeah.
And so they'll read a headline and they're like, coronavirus killed you. Oh,
have you seen?
Like that's why we're in what we're in.
Have you seen the headline of my rant? The headline
Yeah.
of my rant says, "Wear your damn mask." Dude, I paid $5 to promote that on Facebook, right? The only thing I've gotten is like, "You don't tell me to wear my mask," and I'm like, if you would watch the video, you would see that this is like
That's
the
hilarious.
clickbait.
That's what I'm
Right?
talking about.
And they're like,
that's why we're in what we're in.
"Oh, that's not a very nice thing to do." I'm like, I'm trying to get the people that are advocating for
That
wearing
shit doesn't
masks
work.
to actually watch the video, and they're like, "Oh, now that's smart." And I'm like, "Yes." And then literally, I said that on 2 comments. I got like 5 more comments that are like, "Fuck you, you wear a mask." And then the people that I responded to, they're like, "No, you gotta watch it. He's telling you not to wear a mask."
This goes to what you're saying about the liberal
I
party.
don't know why I
Like,
hear them
if-
talking like that, by the way. I don't know why I hear them saying it.
This goes to what you're saying about the liberal party. Like, if you don't wear a mask, like, you're an idiot, you're dumb, like, you're the problem, like,
Yeah.
like you're everything that's wrong.
But
You're the
who
reason
is
there's
not?
too much
But who
disease.
is not?
Well, it's about supposedly it's going to be mandatory in the Atlanta area this coming week.
It's already
to wear a
mandatory
mask.
in Florida.
How is it going to be mandatory if the governor?
So the governor is not wanting, but the mayor of Atlanta wants it to be mandatory.
Yeah, but you said that
Those
he's suing the
people-
mayor.
But the mayor
Yeah,
isn't
it's
the
a whole
one
thing.
that.
But the mayor's pushing the stuff.
The
through
mayor's
in-
not
in
the
area.
one. You know, the mayor's not the one, right? It has to be the county commissioners that do it.
Listen, I don't know who.
Listen, I
exactly
could
is
go
pulling
into
what strings.
Yeah,
I
no,
just know.
I could go into all the
Do you
details.
wear
But
one?
what I was trying to say.
Do
Me?
I wear one?
Yeah.
I wear
I
one
like
because I don't want a
wearing one.
$500 fine just walking
I
out
like
to
wearing
fucking
one
Publix.
specifically because Matt, have you ever played the game series Fallout? Any of those games?
He
I know
wants
about it, but I've never played it.
he
Okay.
wants the apocalypse to happen. Matt.
I am ready.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's probably close.
It's not that I want it. It's that I don't give a fuck. I grew
He's
up
ready.
with refugees as parents. I grew up with Italian American mom who came from old school Great Depression Guineas, and I grew up with a fucking dad straight off the fucking boat who got his citizenship by going to fucking Vietnam. Okay? So this
Yeah.
fucking animal that raised me, and my stepfather was a straight up suave Cuban fucking pimp who like was just like the people that raised me made me very acutely aware that all the bullshit safety that we believe that we have, it doesn't
Yeah.
really exist. So to
what-
me, what I appreciate about all this unrest is that everybody walks around under the blanket of the social agreement. And we all believe that the social agreement's going to protect us. It's a security blanket. We all feel bulletproof. People say fucked up shit to each other on the internet all the time. They honk and yell and flick each other off in their cars. And I came up
Keyboard
in
warriors.
boxing as a kid. Yeah, absolutely. But keyboard warriors and assholes in the streets even nowadays who feel safe because they think that they're going to be protected by the law. Because they
Yeah.
live in a world where they've not been punched in their face.
See,
And I grew
Not
up in
only
a world
that,
with
they
boxing
just
and
assume
kickboxing.
everything's everyone else's
Listen.
fault, and they don't take responsibility for their own
And I
actions.
grew up in a world where boxing
Yeah.
and kickboxing and third world people, okay? So I grew up in boxing gyms where if you weren't from Puerto Rico, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, maybe, you were probably going to catch a rough first week, especially if you were a white boy coming in there, or if you were a straight
To
up
the
American
neighborhood?
black kid.
Yeah.
Not to my neighborhood, to the boxing gyms that I grew up boxing in. So like if you went in,
Yeah.
most of the people there were from the Caribbean. So even if you were black,
They
like
would
American
have
black,
fucked me up.
yo, Jamaicans
Yeah.
and Bahamians and Haitians, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what the cultural dynamic is, but back when I was a kid in the early 90s, starting my boxing career, like, those motherfuckers didn't get along. So if you were like a straight American black dude who came into one of those boxing gyms, you were gonna catch shit. If you had some twang in your motherfucking voice, oh man, everybody was gonna try your shit on.
dude,
Okay?
like,
Damn.
And now if you passed the trial,
yeah,
and everybody went through it, but you had more emphasis because there's 50
More
dudes who
merit.
look like me. There's
Yeah.
50 dudes who look like my cousin. There's 50 dudes who look like my brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you look different. You stand out. But once you pass the trial, you're in. You're part of the. You're part
Yeah,
of
it's
the
merit.
You're proving
Yeah,
that you're
merit.
in there.
You
So
earn merit.
exactly. So it's one of those things where like that doesn't happen anymore. There's no more rites
No.
of passage for young
Yeah.
men.
No.
There's no more trials by fire. There's no more your
No.
dad takes you hunting and you got to kill the deer yourself.
Yeah.
There's no more you had your first boxing match at 14 and you got your shit split and you learn what that's about.
No.
That's gone. And
Dude,
with the
I
whole
agree.
thing of toxic masculinity, see, that's another thing. I'm a left, I lean left on a lot of my theories, right? But I'm also a motherfucking man. I spend most of my life boxing and kickboxing. I hunt pigs for fucking fun.
that is
You know
a
what I'm saying?
toxic statement, Andrew.
What?
I'm toxic.
I'm a man,
toxic. And
but
for
I'm
me
a
to-
man.
For me to have a daughter who I teach my daughter, I think I'm a fucking feminist, right? I think women should carry a strap. I show my wife how to shoot. I got my daughter shooting bow and arrow at 5 years old so she can fuck
Yeah.
some shit up in the world if she wants.
Yeah, good for
I
you.
think That's real feminism. That's
Yes.
not like this.
No, that
Women
is.
No, I want to tell my daughter, yo, boys are going to be stronger than you, right? So if you want to fucking learn how
Be
to
stronger
fuck one of them
than
up,
them.
if one of them jumps on top of them, I'm going to teach you how to choke somebody with their shirt. I'm going to teach you how to pop an elbow with an arm bar. I'm going to teach you how to catch somebody in a triangle
Yeah,
choke.
that's not
because you have
typical
to
liberal stuff
compensate.
either.
But that's the
And
thing.
again, it's one of those things. Like,
Yeah.
dude,
Well,
there's been
no.
times now at her school where she's defended herself, and they're like, well, Annabelle had an incident today. And I'm like, well, what
Really?
happened? And they're like, well, she was
Fuck
on the
her up.
slide,
Fuck 'em up.
and there was a boy on the top of the slide with her, and he wouldn't get out of her way. She pushed him down the slide. And I'm like, well, she didn't push him off the slide, right? Down the slide, right? He went down the slide that's made for sliding down, right? And they're like, yes, well, but he wasn't ready to go yet, and she pushed him.
But
when
he needs his
was ready.
participation
And I
trophy
was
because
like-
he came in 8th place last
Well, I
year.
was like, well, you know what, man? But I'll play the game back. Honestly, like I grew up, like I said, immigrant people use what you have to your advantage. So
Yeah,
like,
you guys, yeah,
to
immigrants don't
me,
give a
it's
fuck.
like, well, you mean it was a young boy? And they're like, yeah, he was a young boy. And I was like, well, don't you think that maybe he was, imposing against her his masculinity, like a little toxic masculinity toward my daughter? She's a young lady. She's a strong young woman defending herself.
Are you
know what I'm
saying
saying?
strong young women don't
I
exist at
pitch
your
it-
school?
I pitch it back because it's like, if you want to play the game with me, man, I'm
Oh, yeah.
down, bro. I had to be a translator for a fucking spick dad when I was
Dude,
like
I'm
10.
ready for that.
I was looking at real estate contracts when I was a little kid.
I'm
okay?
ready for
So
that
it's one
shit
of those
with my
things-
son. Because, like,
so that's what I mean.
he's black.
So it's one of those things
So-
where, like, they're not going to understand the game they're playing
I'm
once
ready.
it gets to a
No,
certain
'cause
point, and all those
everyone's so
things they use
sensitive.
against them. Yeah.
Everyone's so
Yeah.
sensitive, and
Too
everyone wants a
sensitive.
participation trophy. Everyone's so. You
My
both have
wife
kids,
took
and
our
this is
daughter out of soccer for that shit, bro.
so this is a
giving
good.
out
I got a
substance.
question. I don't know if you guys know this, that Jackie Chan is doing this, but I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on this. Jackie Chan actually said that he's gonna donate all his money away and make his son earn his own wealth.
oh,
Yeah, beautiful.
that's good. That's
You-
good.
I
Beautiful.
think it's a great idea.
That's good,
I've
man.
got some friends. I've got some other friends who are like, "That's a waste of money." But like, I think you guys understand. Like, the kid's probably gonna make just as much money, work harder, and I think it's a great idea.
Well,
too.
and he'll also
Yeah.
have the resources of Jackie
Yeah.
Chan as a father. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and he's gonna figure. Yeah,
asset.
he's gonna figure shit out. Yeah,
Yeah, and
he's
then
gonna.
you
His
have
dad's
also
gonna set him up.
You have also too, man. Like, okay, so we talk about how communism is bad, and I think it is in many, 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 many ways. But when you look at people like Bruce Lee, you look at people like Jackie Chan, you look at people
Yeah.
like Yoel Romero, Hector Lombard, great Cuban athletes who came out of Cuba. There is a true meritocracy that comes out of a place that is that hard to grow up in and be good in
I agree.
and be excellent in. So, like, those cats
Yeah.
who rise to the top in those places, take what they have to say, for example. Take what
So-
they say with, like, some real heavy weight, because they really had to be the best to climb out of that fucking swamp of shit.
So I actually live Jackie Chan's son's life that you're describing, Matt.
Yeah,
I
talking about it. I had no
grew
idea.
up. Dude,
I think it's a great idea.
don't
I'm
you
all
think it's
for
a
it.
little weird that I talk about how affluent I was growing up, and then you and I worked in a data entry place,
Yeah.
in the shitty
Yeah, I
part
think
of
about it, yeah.
West Palm
Mhm.
Beach? Isn't that a little weird? Like, I've been all over the world, and all of a sudden I just have to start working shit jobs in Florida and make something of myself. Because my family was like, "You wasted a lot of money on drugs and traveling. What do you have to show for it? Did you go to school?" And I was like, "Nah, I quit that shit."
But I think that.
And then
I think that's
they were like,
yeah.
"Nope, you have to do it on your own now." And I'm doing an
And I
okay
think-
job.
And I agree with that. I think that's why you were saying how, like, yeah, like how you were the asshole 11 years ago, and now I think
Yeah.
that's what grew you up.
My wife,
You
Yeah,
wouldn't have
man.
grown up if that never happened.
I can
Dude,
relate to your
I-
parents a little bit, Mike, man. Like,
My
my wife
parents,
and I
that
talk
was my
about this all the time.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, your grandparents, I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
relate a bit because, like, with
My
my daughter,
dad
she
and I
has-
are cut off.
My daughter has everything, bro. Like, I was a
Yeah.
fairly successful journeyman competitor in combat sports.
Yeah.
My wife is a highly successful executive. I'm starting to do well with music and all that shit. But, like,
That's awesome.
one of those things is, like, my daughter has no struggle. I grew up with, like,
Yeah.
wild parents.
We talked
who
about
didn't make
this.
good decisions. Yeah.
I mean, dude, no kids today have like that's the problem.
Actually,
It's our
no.
Poor
I
kids,
That's
think-
the whole
poor
problem
kids,
with the
poor
BLM
kids
and
still
all
have
this
a
shit.
struggle. Poor kids still have.
But that's my whole problem with the whole opposition thing, like in general, with the whole
Poor
like
kids still play
movement.
outside because there's too many of them for the fucking house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we
that's
have a
my
fucking 6-bedroom house. My kid is like, I really worry. Like we have a cleaning lady that comes over twice, you know, like every 2 weeks. Like I fucking worry. Like the other day I had to stop my daughter. She was like, "Oh, Dad, the cleaning ladies did a great job in my room," and she's 5, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
I know
And
that
I sat
feel.
her down.
I know
and
that.
I go, first of all, her name is Miss Rachel. She's not the cleaning lady. Okay. Second of all, your grandmother, who you're named after, was a cleaning lady. And when I was a little boy, every fucking day after school, we had to go to office buildings and clean because we didn't have any money, and that was your grandma's second job after cutting hair in a nursing home all day long. So like,
Learn her
she
name.
has
Yeah.
no context. She doesn't know what it's like that on Wednesday, 25-cent burger day
So-
at McDonald's, your parents are like, "Fuck, I could feed these 5 motherfuckers."
So,
You know what I mean? Like,
so let me
yeah, I
help you.
understand what you're saying.
Let me help you out a little bit too. Then, so just know that no matter what you do to raise her right, because I know my dad took a lot of steps to raise me right, right? Because he was cut off long before me. So he was like, he already did this whole grow up thing that I did and was on his own, doing his own shit. She's just going to have to learn on her own, unfortunately.
I think my wife and I,
later.
my wife got pretty far along in soccer, and also she was like in the ice capades when she was a kid. She was like a pretty good skater and shit. She was a good surfer. I competed in combat sports my whole life. I think we both believe adversity through athletics is something that's
Adversity
really
through
important.
anything is the key to
Yeah,
success.
just
I think
adversity,
with
yeah.
a kid who has as much at her disposal as my daughter, I think athletics is going to be a place where she's going to meet those challenges that she has no choice but to find, you know, in herself. And I think it's one of those things too. Again, we talked about like rites of passage, shit like that.
Yeah.
You got to let them fail. You got to let them fall. Like I got friends in my
100%.
neighborhood. Like there's a couple across the street from us. They got twin boys. They're really great kids. But my neighbor was like, "Man, I got to take a little bit of a cue from you for your tough love." Because my daughter and my niece will be fighting over some shit. When my niece was visiting for half of the summer, they'll fall off their bike. And I'll see other mothers run and pick kids up and stuff like that. I'm the stay-at-home parent because I'm a musician. My work is in the evening. So, like, my wife is an executive in the day. I'm with the kid. So she's a girl getting raised with, like, a dad's hand. So, like, when she falls on a bike, I'm like, "You all right? Nothing's broken? You're not bleeding out? Get up. Pick yourself up. Pick your bike up. Drag it over. You're crying. I see you're crying. If you want help, you're going to have to walk to me first." Like, I don't fuck with, because I think, especially raising a young lady in this world, there's not that many men left, bro. And there's going to be less. There's going to be less, bro. So it's like, I almost hope she finds like a fucking Croatian immigrant, you know what I'm saying, who comes over here.
Yeah, because it's, and that's kind of what I meant by like the I guess the BLM protesters, I guess I'll go with. The problem is all the ones showing up, like, they really don't know what the struggle is and what they're protesting.
No.
Like the ones that do aren't showing up because they're too busy fucking making a name for themselves or like
or
doing
working,
something.
or
It's
their
hard-
parents
working.
who have
And it's hard to
experienced
make a
real
generalization,
racism.
right? It's hard to make a generalization. So, like, Matt, how old are you?
32.
32. All right. You're a fucking grown-ass man. I'm 37 in October, I think, or 38. I always forget. My wife always yells at me. She's like, "How the fuck don't you know?" I'm like, CTE and fucking weed. Like, but, and Mike, you're my age.
Yes, I am a couple months older than you.
And so
I'm the oldest one.
I remember when I was 22 or 20, how easily fired up I could get. Like, you'd be hard pressed to get me in a fist fight in the street without trying to physically fight me, right? But when I was 20, you could talk me into a fight pretty fucking quick. And so, like,
for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at me long enough when I was 19 or 20, and then I might start.
The Florida man, Florida boy.
Yeah, fucking that fucking.
You think that was just ego, though? Do you think that was just ego?
Say again?
You think that was just ego, though?
Ego and growing up in a place where, like, you feel like you have to prove yourself all the time and shit like that. There's like a lot of little components. I had stepdads in my house that I was fighting with as a young man, so it's like you're always
Florida man.
Like when you grow up,
the house was broken, so
when you grow up with turmoil in your household, I think you grew up like at your peak.
Yeah.
Like I would be cutting class at school and like hiding in empty classrooms and shit. That was like my leisure time. Like that was calm.
Wow.
At home it was like war zone. You know what I mean? So like
like parents fighting and shit.
You have that kind of, but you take kids who grew up with broken homes, which are at an all-time high now. All the kids in their 20s now are, 51, 55, from something like that percent of them are coming from broken homes. So there's turmoil, there's tension in the house. You grow up in a broken home. I think it's more common for kids to grow up knowing that there's financial strife, to have that on their mind. Like, my daughter won't have that on her mind. You know what I mean? Like, so like with those things,
that's good though.
Prevalent. No, it's great. I think that's real privilege.
Yeah.
Like, people talk about white privilege, black privilege, whatever.
Oh, there's green privilege.
There's privilege all over the place, but I don't think it's what people talk about. Two-parent household privilege, stay-at-home parent privilege. That's real shit.
Yeah.
Having like, you look at the difference. Like, I go back to like we were talking about Star Trek earlier. I go to Star Wars. Like, the Jedis who have a good fucking Jedi master to guide them. Those are the ones that become heroes, and the ones that have a shitty master become bad guys, they become the Sith. You feel me?
Dude, like that Daryl Davis's documentary, Accidental Currency, where he goes and talks to the Black Lives Matter kids.
Yes.
And they start yelling at him, right? And then the guy, their mentor, right, comes up and he's like, I can't stand you disrespecting these kids and the brave things that they're doing. That's like exactly your analogy of like, he preys upon black kids coming from broken homes to push his fucking narrative on
and
them,
a lot
right?
of this is anger and frustration.
He's their father figure because they didn't have one growing up in their home.
I had the pleasure and the privilege of growing up in a cross-section of neighborhoods. Because, again, like, I had my grandparents in one place, my father in another place, my mother in another place. So I grew up in this, like, cross-section of neighborhoods. Spanish neighborhoods, black neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods, cops go hands-on first. They go hands-on more.
Of course.
I've been cuffed for my safety I don't know how many fucking times. Whether it's in a dirty white boy trailer park, whether it's in a barrio, or whether it's in the hood. It's the same shit, and poor people get treated badly. The issue is there's just more black people that are poor and more Spanish people that are poor on the front end, on the visual end, that are put on display. Okay?
Like you said, it's the green privilege, not white privilege. It's green
one of
privilege.
Those things that
I have yellow privilege.
I think have to start recognizing on both sides how much of each thing is a reality, right? And it's one of those things where, like, all of this opposition of each other and battling with each other is never going to get us to the point where we can go, okay, we got to get together enough to point at the real problem and go, all these fucking people who are pushing, how come everything is getting run by 75-year-old millionaires?
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on? But while there's fundamentalist Christians and fundamentalist leftists arguing over abortion, it's never going to happen. While there's people who are gay, who want to have their rights, and people who are saying that it's an abomination, because I don't think it's rights that they don't have. I think it's rights that they're afraid of not having because of the way that these issues are promoted by the media.
Gotcha.
So fear is look, my wife went through cancer last year, right? So I wear a mask as well, partially for her peace of mind, because she's terrified of being sick again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they have posed this thing in a way to be terrifying.
These are legitimate reasons. But
exactly.
the people that are complaining about either wearing a mask or not wearing a mask don't have legitimate
reasons. Whether it's poverty, whether it's police brutality, whether it's susceptibility to this illness, all of these things are framed in a way that they're going to be pitched to a broader audience, because the news is no longer about disseminating information to the masses. It's about getting as many people to tune in as you can when you have to compete with the internet,
for the money,
YouTube, and all that. It's all a cash grab. Look, the fucking most valuable news source right now is goddamn Joe Rogan. And that's a fucking shame. And I love the guy's show.
He's good, though.
He's good because he gives people a platform to just say what the fuck they're going to say.
Like this.
He's not good for
you
any
can just say it.
I mean, absolutely.
Whatever you want.
Just say what the fuck. Right, wrong, indifferent, whatever, bro. Like, and it's one of those things now where you're no longer, and I see it on both sides, unfortunately, where on the far ends of both sides, the most vocal far ends of both sides, and it's
the minority
on the left because they're more vocal for whatever reason. But those
there's
sides,
more of them too,
and they're so staunch, and they can't fucking say, like, there's just this lack of realization. I go to Publix, man. I see black people and Asian people and Latino people, and somebody's getting a plum. somebody's getting a fucking pastry, somebody's getting some noodles. Everybody's in there living for the same things, their own lives. It has nothing to do with everybody else and whatever everybody else is.
Listen.
So it's like we all need to recognize that there's validity to all these sides. Like when people say Black Lives Matter, I think some people get caught up in the information, the real information about this organization. One of my best friends is a black dude who's the most fucking right-wing guy that I know. He's been on our show many times, Mike Morrison. He is so intensely right-wing that sometimes I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yes, I love it.
But at the same time, he's one of these dudes who's like super facts and figures guy. He wants to see all the facts. So he'll be like, Black Lives Matter is actually a shell corporation for all these other corporations. But most people who are talking about Black Lives Matter, bro, they don't know about that shit. They're not looking into
they don't. That's the problem, too.
But I think part of the problem, too, is that the other side on the right culture doesn't have the right amount of empathy for the fact that what they're trying to promote isn't this corporation. What they're trying to promote is to say, like, what James Brown used to say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. And I think the problem is, hold on, let me just finish this point. The problem is that we've now vilified each other for pride in our individuality and pride in our culture. So if you're white and you're proud of being whatever the fuck you are, you're racist. If you're black and whatever you're proud of being the fuck you are, on the other side they push you as being a separatist and an extremist. If you're Latino and proud, it's one of these things where in the Latin culture we don't have it as much because a Puerto Rican or a Cuban will wear their flag as a motherfucking shirt, and that's just Puerto Ricans and Cubans being Puerto Ricans and Cubans. Whereas if a white dude does that, it's nationalist. And if a black dude wears an African flag on his shirt, he's trying to say something, where there's this highly politicized view of this shit where we need to just be like, nah, man, it's cool. So I'm proud of you to be proud of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm happy that you're happy to be what the fuck you are.
So this is why, too, what you're saying, it's not that hard for people that are center to all the way to the right, from the center, or even like left of center, all the way to the right to see.
Because I would say I'm slightly left of center.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But so this is why what you just explained right there is, it's not a far jump to see that the people that are left of like you, right, think socialism is good, because that's the first step of socialism, is to put everybody in a box and divide them.
To categorize.
Yes,
them.
to categorize.
I mean, we already do that. We already do it as humans anyways.
No, I know, but the whole thing about, that's why socialism is appealing to like baseline people on like an emotional level, because it really responds to you as a human on like, you know, like your natural tribalist part of your brain, and the
pitch.
Yeah, the pitch is smooth as fuck.
The pitch comes across as everybody's gonna have everything they need.
But first,
for free.
But first, we need to segregate you.
Yeah, perfect.
Well,
like,
and I remember,
which is
really, and it doesn't get sold as segregation. It gets
exactly.
Sold as, we need to categorize you so that we can meet your needs specifically.
Exactly.
That's the game that gets played. And the problem is that we have so many young people. And the truth of the matter is, we have so many young people who are rudderless. They don't have guidance. Right?
And the thing that speaks to them on the most basic human level is the thing that they're going to
help everyone.
Yeah, it's the thing that they're going to latch on to.
So that pitch, man, it's hard. And when you don't have that guide, I was so fortunate for like coaches and grandparents and things like that. Yeah. And without that, when I was bringing up my friend Jeff. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's why I think the BLM is like the thing, because I think a lot of it's just people don't have what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, like I was saying, the guy in Baltimore preys upon those young kids.
Well, not even that. It's even like they used George Floyd as the example, and then they like went backwards and like all that. And I mean, as far as from the corporation side of things, that's an interesting perspective. I've never saw it like that. Because it sounds like that's how I think, like, because obviously they're taking the money and donating it back to Blue to like Biden's campaign and stuff.
No, it's all kind of whatever shit.
Like $100,000 a month to his $100,000 a month to his campaign.
Yeah, but I see it. It's interesting how you said how those people don't see it that way, and you're right, they don't. But I've always seen it as it's them taking. I feel like they're taking advantage of an already
But I think
gender, a race that's already been always taken advantage of,
if
and I'm
you
gonna
have
just
that information,
taking more advantage of them by covering it up.
But by you having that information, me having that information, I think it's extra important for us to recognize that they are being preyed upon in some light, and to say like,
that's
okay,
what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Because, and I have friends, and I'm
it
fortunate
sucks.
to have friends on both sides of that line, right? I feel like I'm fortunate because of that, because I get to hear both perspectives. One of my other best friends is a very left-leaning black man who's been on this show as well. And
I love Marlon too. He's the best.
And Marlon is he's
I
literally
love Marlon so much.
And literally two guys who couldn't be polar opposites, right? Both black men who have very staunch and strong opinions on this, and they both helped me to see how fast. And that's the other thing too that I'm sick of. The media in general tries to create a monolith, and again, it's this categorization where
and people buy into it, and then it's that way, and there's no. Yeah, it's that
Cubans
story.
have like
you can't
Cubans. Yeah, Cubans, you can't like the way you've told me that you're raised. Like, I think it would have to be like your grandchildren saying that they were Cuban. Like, that's how far away it would have to be from you, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just like you said, the way you're raised, the way your father and your grandfather talk about Cuba so much, and other immigrants talk about truly communist countries, like, you grow up, you're not, like, you don't have those type of blinders on that these kids that have been growing up in America, like,
you also grow up in an insular community that's not super American. Like, growing up in Miami, my grandfather barely spoke English. So the joke would be like, Uco, ¿cuántos años tiene aquí en América? And he'd be like, how many years are you here in America? And he'd be like, 42 años, 42 years. And it's like, what else can you say in English? And it's like, you know, so it's like, you develop also a little bit of a faster maturity as a child of an immigrant, because you're given different responsibilities, you know what I'm saying, in your household. So I think a lot of these kids also, you know, we have a lot of friends who lean to the left in the music community that we come from, and
that's how I know if I'm gonna.
Art tends to be pretty left.
Absolutely, and then on my other side,
that's how I know if I'm not gonna like somebody.
Athletes, and most of the combat athletes that I know are 2A supporting, right leaning. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where it's like there's this definitive line. And most of them kind of feel the same way about a lot of shit. Yeah. And what happens is these particular polarizing issues get picked up and monopolized and utilized to separate us further. Where if white people on the right specifically could just be like, you know what, man? I don't know if I support the Black Lives Matters organization, but I can say I support the movement of giving black people autonomy and sovereignty, and saying instead of being like, no, all lives matter. Black Lives Matter, because
Matt made a post about that.
It's not because it's important to pitch that movement or not or whatever. It's important to say like, hey man, I fucking see you. You know what I mean? I see you and I see what you're saying. Because that dude George Floyd, whatever you think, they fucking rubbed that guy out, bro.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. That kid Aubrey here in Georgia, they rubbed that guy out. And they felt like they could get away with it in part because he was an interloper. He was an outsider in that neighborhood. That's tribal bullshit that we got to get past.
I did a post about that?
You did a post about... This is when I reached out to you about being on the podcast, because you did a genuine post about, like, you're like, hey, I'm not trying to be offensive or controversial. Just somebody please explain to me the depth of the Black Lives Matter statement versus All Lives Matter. And you got like this is I actually talked to Andrew that day about that post when I saw it, because I was like, this guy is getting people from both sides on his friends, his group of friends, to talk about it, and nobody was yelling at each other on your post. Nobody was like, well, fuck you, no, it's only has to be Black Lives Matter or anything else. And it wasn't white allies that were explaining the toxicity of All Lives Matter. It was people that were either more involved in the Black Lives movement or understood the differences between the two. Yeah, and they were explaining it with like from a place of like friendship and love to you, which like is a totally different experience than I have on Facebook. You know,
that kind of shit's like, so important.
Yes,
that's what I mean. Like,
that's why I wanted to get him on here, because like
you remember the
he brings people together
with
in a good way.
And Patrick about punching a Nazi.
Oh, and it just ended. Yeah.
well, no, but one point that they made that I had to say, like, I agree, because I don't agree with just hitting anybody, because I understand the consequences of violence.
Getting
like,
hit.
I grew up watching people get knocked unconscious in a ring, and that's a controlled environment, and you see somebody get their fucking head blasted by a shin bone and they're never quite the fucking same. That's a real consequence. And then there's also the legal ramifications, and I don't just think of the Nazi getting punched, because I could give a fuck. I got a Jewish wife. I don't want Nazis on my fucking myself, right? Like, but at the same time, I think of the kid who's punching the Nazi, who's an 18-year-old kid who just threw his life away because some fucking douchebag's head bounced off the pavement and he fucking drops dead. Because this kid feels like he's doing the right thing by socking this idiot when he should just let him be an idiot and marginalize himself. So that's why I have a problem with that message. But a point that they made was, but if you're at a fucking Nazi rally, you're in a zone of danger. Because you know what? If I was at an anti-America fucking Islamist rally,
if you're at any rally, if
you're at any kind of craziness rally, like, I'm not going to the DNC. I'm not going to the RNC. Why the fuck? That's a dangerous place, man.
So I want to actually take that over to, I don't know if you remember the Andy No guy that got beat up at the Antifa rally?
Yeah, the gay Asian
reporter? Yeah.
Like, he's a little bit like me, where he would have been a guy considered on the left 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, no, but he still considers himself a liberal. Like,
he considers himself a liberal, but the left doesn't consider him.
No, but they don't. So here's why I can't get on board with what they were saying there, is because this is where I wanted to go with the conversation with them, because I knew they were going to say that, something like that, right? Like, once again, I know I was them, so I know exactly the literal mindset that the path that they're going to go down. If I brought up the situation of Andy No going into that Antifa rally and then getting the shit beat out of him and chemically burned with concrete like he was, they would say, like, well, I mean, you don't go to a KKK rally and not expect to get into a fight. I'm like, listen, man, if I'm going there for, like, a reporting, like, if I'm reporting on what I'm seeing and I'm in a public rally, regardless if I agree with them or not, I still don't think it's right that I'm assaulted, you know? Like, now, I'm not going to go after a fight there either, which is what they were saying. Like, if I'm in the rally, I'm going to just start fucking people up. I'm like, but why would you go there in the first place?
But now,
I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
Yeah, I'm not going to put myself in that situation. But his job was to put himself in that situation.
But when do we recognize and decide that now there's been a change of culture? Because this isn't stopping, and it's not new, right? It's been like 4 years, 5 years now of this behavior. So, like, okay, it's just like the gun thing where they talk about, like, well, if we could get all guns off the world, it wouldn't be a problem to have no guns. It's like, well, okay, if we could
I can make a gun.
Then people are going to shoot, then people are going to do knives.
No, I can make a gun in my 3D printer.
Aside from the people are going to do knives argument, you just can't get rid of the guns. They're there. They exist.
No, you
That's
can't.
Reality. Move the fuck on. Like,
you can't get rid of systematic racism either.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where it's like, now we have to recognize what's next. We go, okay, we understand that's a thing. What's next? How do we move fucking forward from here? Not in fairy tale land.
Daryl Davis.
You know what I mean?
Everybody trying to be as much like Daryl Davis as they can. If you want to get rid of that, like, I know you're not going to change everybody's mind, and I know not everybody's brave enough to do it, but I mean, like, come on, man. If there were the estimated population of white supremacist groups and KKK groups and Nazis in the country is about 20,000 people. Daryl Davis in 20 years has converted 200 KKK members. If 100 people did what Daryl Davis does, there would be fucking zero or like a handful, and they'd all be fucking each other.
So much faith in the shit heap that is humanity.
Listen, man.
Fucking disgusting. And that's the rant that I was actually going to talk about earlier today, bro.
Yeah.
Where, like, and now I'm starting to feel the juice again.
Yeah.
Where fucking... Because the question that you asked, what is the veracity, what is the difference between the statements of Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter? And I know from some of my friends who feel strongly about the Black Lives Matter statement that to them it just is acknowledgement to say, like, I see you.
And that's fine. Yeah. I'm okay with that.
And I'm fine with that too. Yeah.
Right? Of fuck shit being fucked up.
Yeah.
We recognize it. And I see the All Lives Matter statement as well, where it's like, hey, we don't want to not be included in this.
Yeah.
We don't want to not. And it's one of those things where it's such a vast miscommunication in most cases.
In most cases,
I think most people are fucking just normal, fucking
That's why
people.
That's why I was like, I really need to get Matt on here because he
and
brought everybody together. Like, it was real weird. On Facebook, it doesn't matter how nice you are to anybody or how long you've known anybody. Something like that would cause a fucking riot post on Facebook, and he somehow didn't do it.
But Matt, I've met Matt now for like an hour, and clearly Matt is a balanced guy.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. So he's curated a group of people around him that are that. You can't credit the masses with that level of fucking intellect and empathy.
I'm terrible where I think that I can reach everybody. Listen, if I can be friends with Patrick, whose best friend has threatened to shoot me with an illegal gun, and I feel like I could even be friends with him.
Dude.
But I'm saying, if I can be
anecdotal cross sections aren't the masses. You know what I'm saying? People are fucking dumb, bro.
I know.
People are fucking dumb.
But if you're dumb,
that's the thing I'm saying.
I can
people
manipulate.
Gotta recognize. But it's like the thing. Here's what it comes down to, though. So I was thinking about that same statement of like, what's all lives matter, Black Lives Matter. I see the point of Black Lives Matter. I see the point of the recognition. That's what they want. They want recognition.
Yes.
Right. And then I see the point of all lives matter, where it's like, hey, we don't want to get left out. That's what I see a lot of that as. We don't want to get left out. But here's what I want to say. Can you buy a judge? Because if you can buy a judge, then your life matters.
So let's see.
If you can't buy a judge,
what do you mean by
your life does not matter.
No, Matt. I really want this piss and vinegar for his
If you cannot
his
buy
rant
a judge,
video.
If you don't have the fucking bread to buy a judge, to keep yourself safe from whatever bullshit you want to do, if you don't have that kind of money, if you can't helicopter yourself from your high rise to the beach in this fucking country, your life doesn't matter. And I'm not saying that as a knock against capitalism. I'm actually saying that as a pro to capitalism.
Yeah.
I think that if you got green, that's the color that matters. Because
yes.
Puff Daddy is not today or any other fucking day this week experiencing fucking systematic racism from anybody who knows he's Puff Daddy.
Or Nick Cannon.
Neither is Jay-Z, neither is Beyonce or
Nick
fucking
Cannon.
Nick Cannon. Okay? And neither is Dan Pena, a fucking Latino billionaire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Neither is Kathleen Kennedy, the lady who runs fucking Disney, who's a woman.
I mean,
the glass
or
ceiling
LeBron James, he's got a lot to say.
So exactly. So what I'm saying is, the real fucking color that matters in this country is green. It's got nothing to do with black and white at the end of the fucking day, because Trump, everybody who wants to be on his side, everybody who wants to be on Biden's side, none of them give a fuck about your race, because they both would share the table with Obama, because they're all elitists. They're all fucking people who give a fuck about your fucking tax bracket, not your fucking ethnicity. So the fact of the matter is, Trump's like a German and Scotch or whatever, and fucking Biden is a fucking hillbilly from fucking Virginia or some shit. Listen, man, it doesn't matter, because they all got fucking 7, 8, 9 zeros in the bank account. And that's what the fuck it all comes down to. So we want to talk about how important it is.
Trump lost a zero.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, though.
Being president.
We want to talk about how important it is.
Lost.
Yeah, well, until he does the book tour after this bitch. But
fucking, they'll get it back.
That's what they do, bro. They are all fucking each other from day one, man. It's Trump and Epstein and Clinton and Bush and Obama all in the same.
Stock market's the same way. It's controlled by 90% of the biggest investors.
And
Dude,
we're getting played against each other like pawns on the chessboard all fucking day, over and over again. I got into Star Wars through this pandemic.
That's why I don't like wearing a mask.
Well, and I like wearing a mask too, partly because, what do you call?
I have one though, because in Florida you gotta do it.
Well, I like the apocalypse theory in general. I think we deserve this. I think, like I said, you give credit to the masses, you give credit to pieces of shit. I think we needed this pandemic. I hoped it was going to turn people into zombies. We haven't had a.
He was so sad.
Yet.
He was so sad when I explained.
I was like, Mike,
when I explained it to him.
My kid is going to be on my back, and she's going to be holding shotgun shells and ammo crates.
Walking Dead shit.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm ready for it, because we don't deserve the utopia that we could have, because it's right here.
We don't deserve it.
We fucking grab it, and we refuse.
We're not taking advantage of it.
Other,
yeah.
And we refuse to give each other the empathy that it required to get.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
a lot of people don't even know what that word means.
Bro, white people in this country, first of all, black and white people in this country have to get over their weird relationship. Because I have friends that are Jamaican and Cuban and Puerto Rican who are white and black and whatever, and the same weirdness doesn't exist. It just doesn't. Okay, there's different shit.
Chinese Jamaicans.
Asian. Yeah.
Chinese Jamaicans.
It's not the same. It's not the same thing. So there's that issue in this country, but we don't recognize that all we got to do is black people have to go, hey, white people, we know it wasn't you. We know it wasn't you. And white people have to go, hey, black people, man, that was super fucked up. And I hope we're going to do what we can to make sure that shit never happens again. That was super fucked up.
Yeah.
And the part of the problem is
nobody's really saying that.
But that's the thing. Yeah. There's these contingencies that don't want to admit wrong or guilt because they feel like it weakens their position. Whereas, like, we got to just be contrite on every side, and that's the path. You want to talk about, like, religion? You want to talk about true Christianity, true Buddhism? That's the path. Contrition is the path that leads us to a level of unity that we don't fucking deserve if we can't find it.
This guy is like one of the, when I talk about, like, because Matt, you're religious, and
not as religious as I used to be, but yeah.
But yeah, like when we worked with each other, you were more religious than you are now. But like when I talk, when people ask me, they're like, oh, you talk to religious people that weren't just telling you you needed to convert and chastising you for being like for your liberal values. And I'm like, yeah, like I know quite a few. And actually, like, Matt's one of the first few people that like I knew, like he was like, I think the second or third person in Florida that I met that was like religious, like really religious, and was like truly kind, and he would actually like have a conversation with me and not treat me like a piece of shit like what I was used to.
When you meet a real Christian.
Exactly, a real Christian. He's one of the people that I call a real Christian.
That is one of those things that is like...
I married a real Christian.
It's an eye-opening, awakening experience when you go like,
I mean,
wow, this person gives a fuck and they have an ethic and they're trying to live by that.
Matt is a genuinely good guy.
The judgment isn't there. Like, I always say all the time that, like, Christ comes from this... Like, he's coming from the same school of thought as Buddha. Well, it's like Christ, Buddha, Greek philosophers, like the school of thought is so similar. And when you look at it, it's almost like they could be, there's such parallel stories. And it's like one of those things where it's like, well, the mentality here is really all about care, kindness. And that's what we're lacking for each other nowadays. Like, we're not giving each other the care and kindness that we all deserve from each other. And I think that's like fucking left out over and over again, man.
I mean, that's honest.
Go ahead.
No, I was just say that's honestly why I'm not as religious as I used to be, because being in it so much, 99% of them were fake, and they're like, oh my God, you had sex with a girl. Oh my God, you got drunk at the bar. Like, so I got out of it, so like that's why I got out of it.
But he's still, but you're still like a Christian. You're like a real Christian. Like, same with my wife. Yeah, same with my wife.
Like,
she
I don't care what anybody else does.
Bro, Mike Morrison,
like, I cuss. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I probably cuss more than you guys. Maybe not. I don't know.
And it's one of those things where like that's not what makes a person a Christian. Like, my mother.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like a sailor. My mother had
going out to 1 a.m. at the bar. That's not what. That's not what it is.
That doesn't make you a Christian or not. Like, Christ hung out with hookers, man. Like, there's a reason, like, because
churches will kick people out for saying that.
Well, and that's who needed help. Like, Christ went to where people needed help, right? And if you wanna like promote the beauty of that faith and the beauty of that philosophy, it's that this is a person who came from the highest possible, the highest possible lofty place, and came all the way down, and not only was in the mire and the dirt, but sat himself there and chose to be there. That's the significance of Christ also having a stepfather who was a carpenter. Because in the Middle East, in that
he's a good leader.
A person from the merchant class had bread. They had money.
Imagine if every CEO did that.
Absolutely. That parable goes over and over again. When you talk about the Catholic Church, you talk about St. Francis of Assisi. His father was a very, very wealthy merchant who gave him everything. St. Francis loved whores. St. Francis loved to drink. He loved to party. And then all of a sudden he had a vision and left that shit behind and had all that opulence and affluence and said, you know what? I'm going to leave that in favor of this higher, greater thing. The same thing with Siddhartha, the Buddha, who was the son of was a prince, was the son of royalty, and was like, I'm gonna leave this and sit under this fucking tree for a year or whatever long it was, because I need to figure out if this is real. And that's what we're sitting here lacking. And I don't think it's like religion, but maybe faith, maybe spirituality, kindness, ethic that comes from that kind of thought, because we're lacking that in each other now, where it's like, man, we just need to love the fuck out of each other right now to fix shit.
We're just selfish.
I have a thing. I have like a weird theory. Well, not a theory. Like it's kind of just in your face. And Matt, you work with people in the music industry, right?
Yeah, some of them.
Some of them.
In
so
Nashville,
so I think
that's a fucked up industry, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is. I'm learning that.
The symptom of what you're talking about, Andrew, is like every famous person, every musician is like telling you don't do that. Like, don't dwell on things. Don't try to figure stuff out, and just live for the moment you're in, which is like that's a cool thing to think that's okay when you're like a teenager, but then like you're in they're all adults.
Life.
They're all adults now.
You can't coast your whole life that way.
Yeah.
Living for the moment is important sometimes. It's important to live
in
for
the
moment. Having dinner with your family and put your phone down and live for the moment.
Yeah.
It's important to live for the moment when you're on a hike with your friends.
But the way it's pushed in front of these kids is that's the only thing.
That's every second.
That is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's I wanted to get Matt's opinion because you work with these people sometimes, and I want to know because they're singing about it.
Well, I was totally a punk rock kid when I was like.
But I know that they don't. Man. But I know that they don't. That doesn't apply to them because they're in the industry and they're making money, so they don't need to worry about those things, right?
Well, that's what
do they know that they're helping break people?
Well,
is what I was going to ask Matt.
Before you go on, Matt, I wanted to add to this add to that point, Matt. Like when I was a kid in high school, I rebelled and I was like anarchistic, and I felt like it doesn't matter. We're all gonna fucking be punk rock heroes or whatever in some way, shape, or form. And then I got to a certain age in my early 20s, maybe late teens, where I was really getting serious about my fighting career, where I realized, like, all my friends didn't rebel with me. Like, a bunch of motherfuckers got jobs. One of my best buddies, who was, like, an anarchist guy, he was working at Best Buy for, like, 10 years. Like, so it's one of those things where, like...
Best Buy.
You get to a point where you recognize, like, oh, not everybody... We didn't all stay together and rebel. So to add to Mike's question, these cats who you see living that, right, and like promoting that, do you think they are intentionally doing it, or that it's like some form of delusion? Like,
do they know? Are they aware?
Is it a stunted, arrested thing where they don't realize that not everybody's gonna get to be that?
Talk about living in the moment thing.
Yeah, like well, the way that's promoted by a certain type of person,
by like the music industry, or even like you do like media stuff.
They don't know and they don't care because they're all just writing to get a song on the radio.
Yeah, and that message is the message that gets them on the radio, right?
Yeah, and it's it's the message that's real. And right now, there's talks of trying to do political stuff and trying to like do it, but then again,
weaved in with that too.
Yeah, a lot of bands won't though, because I mean, if you look at like what the Dixie Chicks did back in the Bush era, like they just don't have the courage to go that route. And I'm not even that. Like,
he frozen.
I think we lost him.
No, he'll be back in a minute. He's talking right now.
Guys,
there you go.
Happened,
I can hear.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. You were frozen like this. Yeah. It's funny. Oh, you're frozen again.
Me?
Yeah, you're frozen again.
There you go.
You're moving a little bit now.
It's all right.
You're moving all robot now. You have a very funny stoned face right now.
Hello.
There you go. Yeah, there you are.
Am I back?
Yeah. Your audio's back.
Okay, well, I can hear you guys just fine. See you guys just fine.
You're stuck on a smiley face, so just keep talking.
Okay. Well, no, I was gonna say, what do you call? I forgot my point now that we got that little hiccup. But I guess the question about the delusion, I guess, was a part of it. Like, is it, like you said, they're pitching something that's gonna try and get them on the radio. That's their only concern.
That's it.
Yeah. So I guess it comes down to like just following the Joneses. And that's how it all gets perpetuated. Everybody just wants to be liked.
And that's how you get on the radio.
They all just want to be liked, and the problem with going for radio in a pandemic like this is if this pandemic goes on for a couple of years, everyone's going to forget about you. So, so, I mean, you got, like, the key is you need to build a real fan base before having a record deal, because if not, it ain't going to work.
Right.
And modern day music, I'd say 90s music was very good at building a fan base because it was before the internet era. And even early 2000s, and like, a lot of those bands like were very good at it. But all the bands today, like, if the internet, if the internet would have disappeared, people probably stopped going to Maroon 5 concert. Like, let's just be realistic, So, I mean, they got to build, but they're all just writing for songs on the radio because that pays them, and if it pays them, it fills the seats, and if it fills the seats, it pays the label, and then
they get to do it again.
Yeah, because if they can't do that, the
so
label's going to
switching gears. Now, I have a question in regards to, like, what you do, I guess. Like, I've always imagined, and this is just speculative, right, that there's two different kinds of acts, like guys who make their money off the radio or whatever, or promotion kind of shit, and then people who are, like, acts that do live shit, and that's where they make their bread and butter. Is there, like, a difference? Is there, like, a fucking way that shit gets geared?
What do you mean by acts? Like, the artists themselves or the team?
Like, the artists. Like let's say, like, some bands are more known for being like a good live act. You want to go see them live. You want to go to their tour. You want to go to their show. And other acts, it's like, oh, this is like something you listen to on the radio. You know what I mean? Like, is that something that you see happen by design, or is that something that you see happen by just nature, like natural progression? You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like there's just two different kinds of bands, or you know what I mean? Like two different kinds of, no matter the genre.
Yeah, the live band is the band that's talented. And the band that's good on radio is the band that probably had $500,000 in their pocket and went to the label and they signed them and bred them to be whatever they wanted them to be.
This is another reason I wanted to get Matt on here, because I tell Andrew things like this all the time. It's money that'll like get you to where you want to be, or it's like 30 years of building a fan base in today's music culture.
Yeah. And organically, the best option is the longer route on building the fan base, because you're going to have, like, you may only sell out a House of Blues, but you're going to sell out the House of Blues even during the pandemic if you could. Yeah. Whereas if you are Maroon 5, you're going to have to cancel all your shows. Like, like right now.
That's like your favorite guy, I remember. When we worked together. When we worked together.
You used to razzle me about Nickelback.
Oh, that's right. I remember you. I gave you shit about Maroon 5 too, I think.
Yeah, Matchbox 20 is my favorite.
Oh. So Matchbox 20 was good. They all played music.
They still are good.
Dave Thomas had some pipes, but
and plays drums really well.
So what is like what is the thing now for someone to do to develop that fan base? Is it best to just get out there and get in the mix and like show your wares, so to speak, or is it better to be like promoting your shit on social media? Is it you have to do both at all times? Like, I'm terrible with the concept of self-promotion. How important is that shit in the industry of music now?
Hold on, I'm going to move rooms. No,
don't worry.
As far as you said, how important is it to you talk about asking how to promote yourself, right?
Well, it's like, what is the most important aspect, I guess? Is it just making sure you can put on a banging show and selling yourself that way? Or is it nowadays you have to have a social media presence in conjunction with that to be like an effective
No, because
entity?
you can buy social media followers, so they don't really care about that like people think.
Yeah.
And there's this thing where when songs come out on, so what the trick is when songs come out is like Bieber's team, like all of them, and Bruno Mars, all of them. So they buy all the ad space, and then what they do is they pay a dumb amount of money to Spotify, have Spotify put 3 or 4 songs when the album comes out onto Spotify, and that's how they break all these streaming records on one day, because they pump all this money into the Spotify system. And so everywhere you go, like when Drake did it, he had every ad space on Spotify, and he had 5 of 6 songs of every album on every, like the rap playlist, the pop rising, the today's top, like all of that. And that's literally the trick. And they can also do this thing where they can buy, like with a credit card, you can buy a certain amount of streams internally.
Yes. Tekashi 6ix9ine did a whole video on that. I hate that rapist, but he literally exposed all this stuff. and he's getting shut the fuck down, but people are buying his stuff just so his stuff gets put up on this. Like, he's organically, like, by exposing all this stuff that Matt's talking about, he organically got the same amount of fake numbers that these people purchased. It was crazy. Yeah.
But the
It's
best
rough.
way to,
Yeah.
I mean, you clearly probably don't have as much money as them, but the way to promote yourself, honestly, is SoundCloud is a really good platform for discovery.
Yeah.
Like, just literally, like, I mean, that's what lots of all these underground rappers are doing. I mean, the Baby did that. I don't know if you guys know who the Baby is.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, I have no like.
He threw a bunch of stuff up on SoundCloud.
Mike's been working with me now in this podcast. I have like a cooking show that we filmed one episode that started as a podcast.
You put this on SoundCloud. I'm an idiot. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, Mike has seen how, like, I guess I'm like cliche as fuck when it comes to like being.
Oh, I told him.
Artist, because I'm like, I don't do any of this with like any intention of like trying to get out there or whatever. I don't. That would be cool. But I just do this shit because I like it. Like, it's fun times, right? Like, same with
so
music.
it's going to take you naturally longer.
To be... Right. And that's what I'm trying to change.
Take you
trying to develop an understanding. But so that's what I'm trying to develop an understanding of, like, what things, I guess, can easily be done to start to develop an understanding of self-promotion, understanding how to develop, like, a fan base outside of... Because Mike will tell you this, too, like, I play my balls off. Like, I sing real well. Like, he'll send you my shit.
The best. No, it's fine. The best way to
or whatever.
The best way to gather a sense.
He's freezing in and out.
Oh, he's freezing. That's all right. But
and now he's talking.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Cool. No, but he can hear us. We can do this, and then we can wrap it up, and then we can talk about like music for like a whole 3 hours. I got all kinds of shit. But the whole thing is, I don't remember what you said because you got caught up.
Like a better understanding of how. He's asking for a better understanding of how to easily grow that stuff.
So the best way to understand how just in general what it works, the best thing I tell people to do, and this is for businesses too, and I market them, is get a Twitter account and go on Twitter and type in like your style of music, what you like, and literally just scroll. And like Megan Thee Stallion, this is how like I knew like people knew she was gonna get like she would just sit on Twitter and understand what people in the rap industry were saying about Cardi B and like what's the other one that's like Cardi B? I don't know, like whatever.
Yeah.
But you know she would see what
Cardi B and
the one with the big butt.
Nicki Minaj. Yeah.
Nicki Minaj.
And so you know, and she saw what they were saying about all of them, and she read this thing, and she's like, well, I'm going to go in and do this my way. And she just kind of was reading the crowd, and the best way to read an audience on the internet is to create a Twitter account and just do searches and see what people say. And then you can always just, if somebody, like, whatever you guys sound like, see what people are saying about those, and then be like, hey, check out my song. And then just drop the link in the tweet.
I can do that for you guys if you want.
Just send that there for 2-3 hours and do it.
Yeah, I can start doing that with Twitter because I know you and Mike are kind of like, with using like that type of stuff.
I'm terrible with that shit.
Yeah, I know.
And I would put everything on SoundCloud. Like, in Nashville, a lot of publishers will literally have like kids in the interns and like just sit on SoundCloud and like just go through demos and like. They're like, I like this person, and they got to find it, who it is, and call them. Like, SoundCloud, like, is heavy. Like, I've found songs by, like, artists I like that aren't released on SoundCloud because they wanted to get cut by somebody else.
Yeah. Dude,
So when we have the album done by the end of this fall, we should drop the whole bitch on SoundCloud.
Yeah. And then release it to everybody as saying, like, hey, it's on SoundCloud.
Or, as much as you can do free, or fuck it. Or take everything you guys have recorded now, put it all on SoundCloud, and then take whatever, if you're going to have 12 songs, and if you have 25, and then take the top 12 and make those the album. And it could be a completely different 12 than what you did. I mean, that's what a lot of these, like a lot of the countries, I don't know if you guys listen to country, there's some artists in country music that are pretty good at it. Where like,
my writing partner is big into country. That's where his like angle comes from.
And so like, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll go on and post a demo, and like, they'll post a demo, and then they'll see what other comments say, and then they'll literally post like 15 demos, and then they'll come out with an EP with 6, and the 6 are the 6 that got the most interaction.
Dude,
right, the bangers.
That's how.
So that's why I would, yeah.
That's how, like, with, you know that page that I sent you for my band, Andrew?
Yeah.
So, like, randomly, some of our songs will get anywhere between 300 and 1,000 listens with no promotion. Oh, wow. We don't tell anybody. Yeah. I've only given it. Yeah.
Just because somebody page, finds them along the
I've given that page to 4 people. And then I try to explain what you just explained, Matt, to my band. I'm like, so these are the 4 songs that we should really, like, work on and make better. Because they're all... Every single thing on our SoundCloud page is the guitars are playing for the first time, first take. The bass is playing. Everything's first take. Vocals are all first take, out of key and terrible, you know? Like, and I'm fucking singing like I'm in a goddamn fucking in the Marshall Tucker band, you know? Fucking 70s bullshit.
The music industry is a lot like... Yeah,
so,
the music industry is a lot like
it's 4 songs that, like, we get, like, still a lot of plays to this day. Yeah. For some reason, nobody, like, we don't know who these people are. I used to buy SoundCloud listens on our old page. I just stopped doing that after one of them got, like, 500,000, and then I got a bill, and I was like, oh, not paying that. Anyway, it was real weird. Like, but these are organic things that are happening, and I'm like, we should, like, you know, like, not scrap, but, like, take down some of the other stuff and then put those 4 back as the top 4, you know?
Yeah, the music industry is all like politics, where they just keep feeding us the same bullshit pop songs and rock songs.
Yeah.
And they think works. They're giving us what works, and they're feeding us what they think we want to hear.
Yeah.
But when you really, like, talk to fans, like, certain artists, people don't want them to change. Like, and I mean, like, Matchbox 20's consistently stayed the same. But then you got, like, a Maroon 5 who is changing every album. But if you talk to people who listen to them, but if you talk to people who like Maroon 5 from album 1, they never wanted that. So, like, but they think they're being political, thinking to get a bigger arena, they got to go pop, when in reality, that's not true. Like, we're just getting...
The first Maroon 5...
executives...
The first Maroon 5 album was like an emo album. Like, it came out... Like, at the same time, Hawthorne Heights was coming out. Like, and it was kind of in the same vein.
Black Keys.
Yeah.
Those are good dudes.
Black Keys are pretty consistent.
And they're just good, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like they just
but that's the thing.
Yeah. Dude, the Black Keys story is
it's all
crazy.
Political. It's political shit. Yeah. The fucking record, the NDAs that go on.
360 deals and bullshit.
Oh, 80/20s and...
Dude, this is all terrible shit.
My neighbor in Nashville just signed a deal with Sony. And even the secrets of, like, the DUIs they get and the fucked up shit they get in trouble with, like, it's all stuff. Like, there's a lot we can talk about.
We should
do
so much.
Yeah,
we're gonna.
We have to have.
We can do it next week.
Dude, we have to have you, like, on a like a music, like,
you know, we
segment.
should have him and Marlon with
because Marlon is, like, an aspiring
promoter, DJ, fucking great songwriter,
find out,
artist.
Find out when he can do it, and then let's all do it.
We'll set one up. That'd be
dude. That would be great.
I love it.
See, this is what I was talking about, Andrew. Like, I knew, like, Matt would want to bring so much to the table.
Your first booking has been a fucking super
dude. I love it. But what I was saying, like, we might have to do, like, another day, because I knew we were gonna, like, have so much to talk about with Matt. Matt's a great dude.
Let's make sure we
lots
can
of things in common.
Let's make sure we can maintain once a week for a couple months, and then I'm down to start adding more.
I know, but, like, we got other conspiracy theory people to get to on Thursdays. I also would like to talk to Matt again soon.
Definitely.
Because Matt, you may want to watch next Thursday, because if we can get her on, my friend, it's our mutual Facebook friend who Andrew met through interaction on Facebook.
Through Facebook, yeah.
Might be the next Alex Jones, but a woman. Like, she's that intense in
it's gonna be
this stuff.
I can't wait.
I worked
where
with
does she
her.
live?
She lives in Florida.
She lives here.
Yeah, she lives in
Florida.
Dude, like she's not from here. She's from New York. But, like, I worked with her. Like, when we would talk about this stuff, it's like I'm kind of, like, doing, like, a preview for the next episode now. Like, she gets really intense. She gets really loud. When people yell at her, she doesn't just go that's the only thing. She doesn't do the Alex Jones, like, fuck you, I'll eat your liberal ass for breakfast. She just goes, like, show me which is like what you're supposed to do. Like when
Which
somebody
is what makes them mad. That
Yes.
makes them super mad.
they get
Yeah.
really mad at her and they're like, I don't have time to talk to you, Trump supporting piece of crap.
Logic gets emotion twisted up.
Yep. Also,
Yeah.
too, I think that little rant you did, Andrew, about buying a judge is a good preview for your
Okay,
rant
you can
rant
clip that.
video.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. I want to get more of that, and yeah, I got like 2 or 3 more rant videos I want to do that I'll be releasing over this next week. And I think we should make this a thing with Matt where we do like another.
Yeah, we should definitely do some like pull-in like music guys. Over
Yeah,
over
and
again,
talk
have
to
these-
Yeah.
yeah.
and also create connections. You know, we introduced Matt to
Oh, yeah.
Marlon and Chris and all.
I'm
these
actually
guys. This
starting I'm actually starting a music podcast here soon
Yes,
Oh, dope.
with
that's what I'm
me
saying.
and another
man.
buddy, and we're starting it off where we're just going to talk about music and like review albums and all this stuff.
Cross.
But
I
I've
want to
got-
cross promote too with
Yeah,
you. and
But
stuff.
I've got people. I'm going to have some writers on and like and some
awesome.
stuff like that.
Well, if
And
you ever end up
so,
having
yeah.
performers on, holler at me. I'll come.
Yeah,
I'll do a song
yeah.
like
So
Oh,
we
yeah.
can
any day.
we can cross promote all that. But yeah,
Love it.
I think we should do a whole one with just music. I think
That'd be
it'll
great.
Love it.
man.
That's a great idea.
and
Well,
it'll
shit,
get
Matt.
pull people away from politics for a while.
Yeah.
Yes. But Matt, it's been like a pleasure to meet you, man. I really
Yeah,
glad
man,
came
you
on
too.
the
I
show.
told you.
Appreciate you coming and being our guest, Mike.
Yeah, man.
Like I said, your first
I had
a
one was a
blast.
smashing success.
Dude, Matt's a
I had a
great guy.
blast.
Well, fuck, man. It's
I
always
just-
great to meet people who are like logical, sensible, and can
I
have
just-
differing
people.
views and still enjoy each other.
I just enjoy talking to people
Absolutely.
That's
and
the
not
thing,
having
too.
to like and not having screaming matches.
Yes.
Yes.
And so
Yes,
I mean,
that's great.
everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I don't care who votes for who. Like, you know, we all have
Yes,
different needs.
exactly.
You know, you guys have kids I don't like, so we're all automatically have different needs and different beliefs off the bat. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's
at
what
the end
I'm
of the day, we don't have to
talking
be a dick about it. You know.
I love it.
Exactly.
I love it.
Uh,
Well, shit, Matt, it's been a
Yeah.
pleasure. Everybody,
All right,
check
gentlemen.
out the channels. Check out what's coming next. We are planning to I'm planning to be in Florida in August, late August, so that we will film 1 or 2 more episodes of the Chef'd Up series that we're developing, which is a cooking show where I take psychedelic chemicals and then cook
And teach people to cook.
and teach people to cook as well. So we filmed one
Quarantine
of those that started
cuisine.
out- yeah, right. Well, it started out as a podcast format. We shot with one of my dearest friends, Marlon Foster, who's a badass promoter.
yeah.
And that was the first concept. And now Mike is doing it with edits with me. We're actually producing it like a show style rather than just a static shot podcast. So we definitely have so much stuff coming out. And in the future, Matt, when we start filming the episodes of that, you should definitely come out and shoot an episode of that with us and have some fun with us.
Hell yeah, I'll
And,
do that.
Fucking just have a really good old time. Everybody, thank you for joining us.
Well, don't
Great.
forget Patreon. We've got
Yes.
like, subscribe, share if you liked it. We've got shirts available. We got with the LSD logo. We've got all the stuff. Links in the description. Matt, do you want to promote anything?
No,
Okay.
I'm good. I just,
Just good sense and a great demeanor.
I'm
Yes.
I'm a bad self promoter. I promote other people better.
I hear
so,
you.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it,
that
fellas.
Was the shit. Well, tell your
All right.
mama, tell your pa, I'm gonna send you back to Arkansas. Oh yeah. Whoa,
I love it.
right. Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you can
what
sing.
I say.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, man.
Later on, guys.
All right.
All right. See you guys. All right.